Chapter 11:16. After looking through the information on the two worlds, Zhao Fu found that the Dark Demon continent was quite difficult to deal with and did not have much room for development. However, the Fish Scale world had a lot of room for development, as the Dark Water continent already had the conditions to unify it. After making all sorts of preparations, Zhao Fu prepared to go to the Fish Scale world and unify the Dark Water continent. However, the heavens and earth suddenly changed. Countless traces of fate and essence chi madly gathered in all directions, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. These terrifying ripples caused countless people to feel despair, and it was as if the world was about to be destroyed. Boom, 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 boom. 4 shocking explosions sounded out as 4 massive pillars of light shot into the sky, giving off world-shaking power. The sky seemed to be pierced as 4 different colors of light spread out, covering the heavens and earth. The 4 massive pillars of light seemed to be spread out in all directions, seeming to hold up the heavens and earth. They gave off boundless auras and shook everyone's hearts. Roar! A domineering dragon's roar sounded out as a massive azure dragon appeared in the sky. Its body was incredibly large, and it covered the entire sky. It was covered with azure jade-like scales and had many forked horns. Its claws were incredibly powerful, and it looked incredibly mighty. Scree! A long cry sounded out as a massive bird covered in flames appeared in the sky. This bird looked like a phoenix, but it was not a phoenix. Its eyes and beak were like red gems and gave off intense red light. Roar! Another heaven-shaking roar sounded out as a massive whale appeared in the sky. This whale was snow-white and had blue eyes, and it was incredibly beautiful. It also had a pair of pure white wings. SSS! A massive deer appeared in the sky, surrounded by countless traces of celestial chi. Its fur was rainbow-colored, and its antlers were platinum-colored, and it gave off a gentle aura. It was the first time that the 4 guardian beasts had simultaneously appeared, and countless people looked at the sky in shock. Emperor Qin. An ancient and dignified voice sounded out from the north. It was the Sky Desolation Azure Dragon's voice. Hearing this voice, Zhao Fu flew into the sky and stood above the central continent. He looked at the guardian beasts and asked the Sky Desolation Azure Dragon, "What business do you have with us?" A trace of a kind smile appeared on the Sky Desolation Azure Dragon's face. Zhao Fu's performance had always exceeded his expectations, and such a peerless genius would definitely resound throughout the heaven-awakened world. Perhaps in the future, Zhao Fu would need his help. Moreover, with Zhao Fu's terrifying power and his status as the ruler of the human world, he was qualified to stand on the same level as them. Congratulations! You've become the lord of the human world, and our mission is over. It's time for us to leave. The promise I made in the past to protect your foundation for 100 years, Qin, is now lifted because you've unified the human world. In actuality, I never thought that you would be able to unify the human world so quickly. However, because you unified the human world so quickly, our mission ended early, and the heavenly domain boundary disappeared early. You must prepare to face the true heaven-awakened world. Hearing the Sky Desolation Azure Dragon's words, Zhao Fu earnestly nodded. Even though he had expected this, hearing that the heavenly domain boundary was about to disappear, he still felt quite disappointed. He felt quite uneasy about facing the true heaven-awakened world. The Sky Desolation Azure Dragon continued to speak. With your talent, I'm sure you'll go to the heaven domain in the future, and we'll have a chance to meet again. I hope you can protect the human world well. Zhao Fu replied seriously, "Don't worry, as long as Qin is here, the human world will definitely be safe." The Sky Desolation Azure Dragon smiled and nodded. "We believe in you. Also, we'll give you one last gift. I hope it will be of use to you." The 4 guardian beasts exploded out with terrifying auras that were like tsunamis that seemed to inundate everything, causing anyone to feel despair. The 4 guardian beasts' bodies gave off large amounts of light, which condensed in front of them. 4 orbs of light containing terrifying power formed, and 4 drops of blood containing source aura flew out from the guardian beasts' foreheads and fused into the orbs of light. The 4 orbs of light continuously condensed and formed 4 pieces of jade. These 4 pieces of jade were different colors and were as big as 3 fingers, and there were 4 figures within them. These 4 figures were the 4 guardian beasts. The 4 pieces of jade flew in front of Zhao Fu, and Zhao Fu caught them and looked at them. 4 soul jades. 4 pieces of jade condensed from the guardian beast's soul blood. They have extremely powerful effects and abilities, please use them with caution. Many thanks. Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile and felt that these 4 soul jades were not simple at all. Soul blood was incredibly important to anyone, and the guardian beasts had condensed them for him. As such, he thanked the 4 guardian beasts. The 4 guardian beasts lightly laughed and said, "I hope we'll meet again in the future." Following this, 4 rainbow-colored halos of light appeared in the sky. The halos of light were also filled with rainbow-colored light, and it was unclear what was inside. The 4 guardian beasts entered the 4 halos of light, and their bodies gradually disappeared. The ripples and abnormal signs in the surroundings also gradually disappeared, and at that moment, Zhao Fu received a series of system announcements. System announcement. The human world has been initially unified, and the Qin Empire is the only legitimate kingdom in the human world. After the Qin Empire clears out all regions, the human world's fate and the Qin Empire's fate will be fused. System announcement. The 4 guardian beasts have left. Please protect your own world. System announcement. Because the Qin Empire has completely unified the world, the heaven domain boundary will disappear ahead of time. There are only 3 months left. System announcement. Once the heaven domain boundary disappears, the human world will lose all protection, and anyone or anything will be able to enter the human world. There may be many dangers, so please make preparations. System announcement. The human world's consciousness has started to fuse into the Heaven Awaken world, and the human world will soon become a part of the Heaven Awaken world. System announcement. The Heaven Awaken world's fate is slowly flowing into the human world. Zhao Fu looked at the system announcements and warnings and fell into his thoughts. There were still 3 months before the heaven domain boundary disappeared, and the Qin Empire would be exposed to countless people. This would be quite dangerous. Before, Zhao Fu had wanted to go to the Darkwater continent, but now that he was facing great difficulties coming to his home, Zhao Fu could only give up on his original plan. Right now, the human world's matters were the most important. Following this, Zhao Fu gathered countless ministers to discuss this matter. Right now, the most important thing for the Qin Empire was to clear out regions. After all, the 2 continents that Qin Empire had controlled had not been completely cleared out, and now that 2 more continents had been added, the task had become much heavier. Chapter 11:17. Your Majesty. Your Majesty has expanded our army to 6 billion soldiers, and we have also formed 3 billion militias to speed up the clearing process. At the same time, Your Majesty has gathered 10 billion residents to build the Great Wall. Now that the human world has been unified, they most likely won't be in any danger. Right now, all of Qin's departments are working very efficiently, continuously providing all sorts of resources. At this rate, it is possible that Qin will be able to clear out all of the regions and raise Qin to a level 1 dukedom kingdom. Li Si reported these matters to Zhao Fu in detail, and Zhao Fu listened by the side. Hearing that it was possible to clear out all of the regions within 3 months, Zhao Fu inwardly let out a sigh of relief. Without revealing the strength of a dukedom kingdom to others, Zhao Fu did not have much confidence. What is the situation like in the Dark Demon world and Fish Scale world? Have they received any system announcements? What has happened to their heaven domain boundary? Also, Do the grassy people know that the human world's heaven domain boundary is about to disappear? Zhao Fu once again asked. Li Si replied in detail. The dark demon world and fish scale world have not been affected at all, and their heaven domain boundary is still the same. Only the human world's heaven domain boundary has disappeared. As for the grassy people, they have not sensed it yet. Even though the human world is slowly fusing into the Heaven Awakened world, and the Heaven Awakened world's fate is also slowly entering the human world, it is too slow for them to notice. However, in the final month, we'll have to speed things up. With all sorts of abnormalities in the human world and the changes to the Heaven Domain boundary, the grassy people will most likely notice that the Heaven Domain boundary is about to disappear. Zhao Fu frowned and said, We'll have to build a few more defenses in the eastern continent. Now that the situation has changed, and the grassy people have been waiting outside for a long time, it's possible that the two worlds next to it will think that Qin is easy to bully and will attack the human world. Hearing this, Li Si nodded and said, Your Majesty, I'll immediately send people to do this. Zhao Fu watched Li Si leave before turning his gaze back to the documents. Now, Qin was urgently clearing out regions and building the Great Wall, and there were many other things to do as well. As such, Zhao Fu felt quite anxious. Back then, Zhao Fu had wanted to wait until he unified the Dark Demon World and Fish Scale World before suddenly charging out of the Protectorate region and attacking the Grassy World, Elf World, and Half-Beast World, taking down the three worlds at lightning speed. If that happened, Qin would have 6 worlds. With just 4 worlds, Qin would be able to rise to kingdoms. In the future, the Great Qin Empire would become the 21st royal kingdom in the ancient stem domain. With such power, Great Qin would not be in any danger in the ancient stem domain, and Great Qin would be able to safely establish itself in the Heaven Awakened world. However, now that the heavenly domain boundary was about to disappear, Zhao Fu did not have the time to unify the Dark Demon World and Fish Scale World. Just like that, Qin lived in a tense and fast-paced atmosphere for a month or so, and everything was progressing well. Whether it was clearing out regions or building the Great Wall, they were progressing incredibly quickly, and there was hope that they would be able to clear out regions in the next 2 months. Zhao Fu could not help but let out a sigh of relief. Zhao Fu stretched and warmed up his body. Over the past month, Zhao Fu had been busy with political matters, and his body felt quite stiff and sore. Now that he knew that he could complete the task, Zhao Fu was not as anxious and wanted to relax. Moreover, he felt that it was quite strange. He had not encountered a single boss monster of a region. A long time ago, during the chaotic war, the boss monsters had disappeared. Back then, Zhao Fu had thought that they had gathered somewhere, but now that he had unified the world, he found that they had indeed disappeared. The chaotic war and natural disasters had long since ended because Qin had unified the world. Qin had raised the chaotic world stone steel to the highest level, level 12, and because it had absorbed a large amount of chaotic aura, it had become a treasure in the end. Qin had also obtained a large number of points, which he had used to exchange for many good things. Because the human world had been unified and the chaotic war had ended, the things on the steel had been cleared out. Now, Qin did not have any advantage as a newbie, and he could only obediently advance step by step. Zhao Fu felt quite curious about the boss monsters of a region disappearing, and he did not know what was going on. Moreover, there had been tens of thousands of boss monsters. Perhaps this had something to do with the 4 guardian beasts, but it was a pity that Zhao Fu had not thought about this, so he did not ask them. Your Majesty, this subordinate has something to report. A guard walked in and knelt on one knee, interrupting Zhao Fu's thoughts. Zhao Fu's gaze fell on this guard as he said, Speak. What is it? Following this, the guard started to report. Zhao Fu lightly laughed and nodded as he said, We understand. Take her to the artifact refining pavilion. Yes, Your Majesty, the guard replied before turning and leaving. Zhao Fu then went to the artifact refining pavilion and saw a quiet young girl with black soot on her face tied up. She angrily yelled, "Let go of me, you bastards from Qin! I want to see my big sister and father." She was Gongsun Lin, a person from a long time ago. Zhao Fu had met her at the Holy Light City auction, and she had helped Zhao Fu forge gold-grade equipment. Back then, for her to be able to forge gold-grade equipment, it was evident that her abilities were quite outstanding. Back then, Zhao Fu had wanted to keep her in Qin and have her work for Qin. However, it was a pity that he could not keep her, and he could only let her leave. Back then, Zhao Fu had been quite worried about her safety and had given her a black forest horse. After a few years, her aura had become more mature, and her escaping skills were quite amazing. The guards had almost let her escape many times, and they could only tie her up. Before, when they had captured her, she had been in a gnome town forging. She had been quite simple-minded, and she had been doing nothing but forging. She did not know that Qin had unified the world, and she had been hiding in a small place. The people who had captured her saw that she was quite capable, and after verifying her identity, they found out that she was Gongsun Lin. They told her that Qin had taken control of the Gongsun family so that she would behave herself and not run away. "Greetings, Your Majesty." Seeing Zhao Fu's arrival, the surrounding soldiers immediately knelt on the ground and greeted him. Seeing the handsome young man walking over, Gongsun Lin immediately became well-behaved. Although she only cared about forging artifacts, she had occasionally heard about how terrifying Qin's prince was, and that Qin had unified the world. When she heard about this, she was immediately frightened. She had never thought that the situation would change so quickly. She felt that Qin had unified the world in an instant and no one had time to react. Chapter 11-18. Long time no see. Zhao Fu smiled as he looked at Gongsun Lin. Hearing this familiar voice, Gongsun Lin felt even more confused. She thought about it but could not remember who it was. Gongsun Lin looked quite confused because Zhao Fu had been wearing a black cloak the entire time, so it was understandable that Gongsun Lin did not recognize him. Zhao Fu said, "I'm Zhao Xian, the Zhao Xian you met at the auction." However, Gongsun Lin still looked quite confused and did not remember who Zhao Fu was. Zhao Fu felt quite disappointed. He had remembered her and had forgotten about him long ago. At that moment, Gongsun Lin bitterly thought about that person she had met in the Forest of Horrors, and she looked completely dumbfounded. She had never thought that she would have interacted with Great Qin's legatee so early on, and now, he was the human world's only emperor. Back then, she had thought that Zhao Fu was just the leader of a small faction. She had never thought that such a small faction would slowly become such a massive figure. I'm sorry. It's been 6 years, and if you hadn't reminded me, I would have forgotten about it. However, I still thank you for giving me the horse back then, and I still have it," Gongsun Lin said awkwardly. Zhao Fu nodded and did not seem angry, and he asked the soldiers to let her go. "How many weapons do you have on the godly weapon list?" Zhao Fu thought about the Gongsun family's traditions and asked curiously. Gongsun Lin smiled and proudly took out a thick book and handed it to Zhao Fu. "Tell me, these are my gains over the past 6 years. I have 7,000 or so weapons, and I can now forge saint armaments." Zhao Fu took the thick book and flipped through it. Hearing Gongsun Lin's words, he felt quite shocked. Saint armaments were top-tier items in the world, and it was incredibly rare for someone to be able to forge them. "I can't let her get away this time." Zhao Fu thought about it and said, "You can stay in Qin City for now. We will provide you with countless precious materials to forge the godly weapon you want." Gongsun Lin was a bit hesitant and wanted to refuse. After all, obtaining materials like that would be meaningless. However, Gongsun Lin couldn't directly refuse. The Zhao Fu of the past was completely different from the Zhao Fu of the past. Even the emperor of the Qin state was so polite to her. If she still refused, she might be beheaded and might even implicate the Gongsun family. A clear voice filled with pleasant surprise sounded out as a beautiful woman appeared and called out with a smile. She was Gongsun Lin's older sister, Gongsun Zhu. Sister! Gongsun Lin happily ran over and threw herself into Gongsun Zhu's arms. Gongsun Zhu hugged Gongsun Lin lovingly. Where have you been all these years? Don't you know how to bring some news back home? Aren't you afraid that your parents will be worried? Gongsun Lin felt embarrassed and buried her head in Gongsun Zhu's arms. She had focused all her attention on forging, otherwise she wouldn't have achieved what she had today. Sister, I haven't seen you for so long, and you've become more and more beautiful. You look so tempting. I really want to have a bite of you. Gongsun Lin grinned and rubbed her face against Gongsun Zhu's chest. Gongsun Zhu blushed and looked ambiguously at Zhao Fu, saying, "All right, stop fooling around. His Majesty is still here. Also, how did you get brought here?" After Gongsun Lin told her what had happened, Gongsun Zhu understood and let out a sigh of relief. Luckily, Qin City was only cleaning up. If it had been a full-scale attack like before, she would have been worried that Gongsun Lin would have been killed indiscriminately. Sister, do you think I should agree to his request? Gongsun Lin told Gongsun Zhu about how Zhao Fu had asked her to stay in Qin City. Gongsun Zhu chuckled and said, "The world belongs to him. Where else can you go? Also, you're the only one who still dares to think like that and still have the option to refuse. It's all because of our past friendship. You should know that no one dares to refuse his words. Otherwise, they won't have a good ending. That's the situation now. If you stay in Qin City, you'll have all sorts of rare and precious materials. Indeed, you won't have to wander around. This way, you can focus more on forging and perfect your godly armament list." Gongsun Lin thought about it and agreed. However, when it came to the godly armament list, Gongsun Lin became interested and began to introduce her godly armament list. The godly armament list was the tradition of the Gongsun family, and it carried the family's glory. It could be said that every member of the Gongsun family viewed the godly armament list as the most important thing. Gongsun Zhu also briefly introduced her godly armament list. The grades of the materials there completely surpassed the grades of the materials that Gongsun Lin had obtained. After all, the materials collected by an empire were definitely more precious than those collected by herself. As a result, Gongsun Lin immediately had no objections to staying in Qin City. Zhao Fu listened to the two women's conversation, and he smiled when he heard that Gongsun Lin was willing to stay in Qin City. In actuality, Zhao Fu did not want to force her too much. "You can continue chatting. We have matters to attend to and will be leaving first. Also, Lin, we will entertain you another day." Because there were still many things to do, Zhao Fu did not stay for long. As Gongsun Zhu watched Zhao Fu leave, a trace of disappointment appeared in her eyes. She was quite surprised that Zhao Fu had called her little sister, because she felt that it was quite intimate. However, she also felt quite happy that her little sister had been lucky enough to become friends with Zhao Fu early on. Otherwise, just because the Gongsun family had given the clear sable sword to Zhao Fu, the Gongsun family might have been completely destroyed. Gongsun Lin smiled and happily told Zhao Fu about what had happened over the past few years before asking Gongsun Zhu what interesting things she had encountered over the past few years. Gongsun Zhu bitterly laughed and told Gongsun Lin that she was now Zhao Fu's concubine. This made Gongsun Lin feel quite angry, and she had always had a good impression of Zhao Fu. She had never thought that he would treat her big sister like this. "All right, don't be angry. Back then, he didn't know that I was your big sister, nor did he know that I was from the Gongsun family. Moreover, I don't regret it. This kind of life is quite good," Gongsun Zhu said as she smiled. Gongsun Lin asked curiously, "Then why don't you regret it? That fellow has countless women, and he doesn't treat you very well." Thinking about the reason why she did not regret it, Gongsun Zhu's face became red. She could not help but think about the few times they had been by the furnace. She had felt quite disappointed that Zhao Fu had left without doing anything. Gongsun Lin did not know why her big sister's face had become so red. Zhao Fu returned to the palace and ordered people to collect information on the grassy, half-beast, and elf worlds. Now that the heaven domain boundary was about to disappear, those three worlds were Qin's main opponents, so Zhao Fu wanted to take this opportunity to do something. Chapter 11:19. Zhao Fu had never thought that such a thing would happen, nor had anyone thought that such a thing would happen. Not only was this a heavy blow to Qin, but it was also a fatal blow to the entire Heaven Awakened world. This once again changed Qin's plan, or rather, it changed Qin's entire plan, and everything had to be reformulated. Zhao Fu had been planning to leave the human world when 8 massive crystals giving off boundless auras floated in the air at the center of the heaven domain. Suddenly, a crystal pearl appeared between the 8 crystals, giving off formless ripples. The 8 crystals slightly trembled and gave off a faint light. Even though they only gave off a faint light, they were the core items of the Heaven Awakened world, and any abnormal movement from them would cause terrifying abnormal signs. As the 8 crystals moved, the heavens and earth dimmed and clouds swirled as a terrifying shockwave swept out. Countless higher beings in closed-door cultivation were all woken up and looked incredibly shocked. Following this, countless ordinary people also sensed this apocalyptic shockwave and felt as if they had fallen into a bottomless abyss. A sense of despair filled their hearts, and both their bodies and souls uncontrollably trembled. The terrifying shockwaves swept out from the heaven domain. The central domain was swept away, and even the outer domain felt the terrifying shockwave. Back then, Zhao Fu felt as if he had been hit by a massive wave, and his body froze. His soul felt like a candle in a berserk gale, continuously flickering as if it would be extinguished at the next moment. At that moment, Zhao Fu felt a sense of terror from the depths of his soul. This power completely surpassed anything Zhao Fu could imagine. Even if he exploded out with all of his power, whether it was the Qin royal seal, his nation armament, or the human world's power, it would all be useless. In front of that power, he was as small as a grain of sand and could be easily turned into nothingness without being able to resist at all. What was going on? Why would the heavens and earth give off such terrifying shockwaves? Countless people did not understand what was going on, but they all looked incredibly shocked because those shockwaves were simply too terrifying and surpassed what they could endure. The Heaven Awakened world fell silent, and there was not a single sound as that terrifying shockwave covered the entire Heaven Awakened world. However, its undulations did not stop. The godly spirit world above felt a terrifying power seep in from below. That power caused their bodies to stiffen, and they felt fear in their hearts. Their expressions changed greatly. The godly spirit world did not resist at all, and it was instantly covered by the terrifying ripples and fell into silence. In the underworld below, the countless ghosts felt a heaven-shaking power weighing down from above, causing their bodies to sink down. They could not resist at all, and their faces were filled with terror. They could not move at all. The underworld was instantly covered by that terrifying power and fell silent. The countless ghosts were filled with terror. The godly spirits above and the ghosts below all looked towards the Heaven Awakened world at the center and thought to themselves in terror, what was going on in the Heaven Awakened world? Why would such a terrifying power appear? The world was still changing, and the wind and clouds quickly surged. That power became more and more powerful, making people feel more and more terrified. Boom! A massive explosion sounded throughout the world, as if the heavens and earth were going to split apart. In that moment, the crystal pearl gave off an intense light. At that moment, countless worlds' source energy madly gathered towards that crystal pearl. The godly spirit world above and the underworld below were unable to escape, and waves of power were forcefully drawn out and flowed towards that crystal pearl. What's going on? Countless people sensed countless worlds' source energy being sucked away, and they looked quite confused, not knowing what was going on. However, what happened next shocked everyone. Countless people's bodies, sects, kingdoms, godly spirits, and underworld officials felt their power being forcefully taken away. Roar! A heaven-shaking roar sounded out from the demon domain. It was from the most powerful demon beast in the demon domain. A heaven-toppling demonic might spread out, and facing that terrifying power, it started to resist. The most powerful demon beast in the demon domain was naturally incredibly powerful, and it could resist multiple higher beings. It was not just it that started to resist. Roar! A powerful dragon's roar tore through the sky as a heaven-shaking dragon's might exploded out, causing the world to fall into despair. The most powerful existence in the devil domain also started to resist, and it was naturally incredibly powerful. Boom! A sky-shaking explosion erupted. The supreme expert of the god race erupted with his own power. He was like a golden sun that shone with boundless radiance, illuminating the world. His power was terrifying. He also began to resist. Boom! Another explosion sounded out, causing the world to tremble. The most powerful human race empire in the human domain also exploded out with terrifying power, forming a towering giant that gave off destructive power and started to resist. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the spirit domain also gave off a massive explosion. The sky became five-colored as a terrifying shockwave spread out, and the spirit domain used its own power to resist. Power was the foundation of a person, a god, a sect, or a kingdom. Now that existence wanted to take away their power, countless people naturally started to resist. Boom! 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 Explosions continuously sounded out, almost causing the world to shatter. Pillars of light containing terrifying power shot into the sky, and world-shaking power exploded out. So much power caused the heavens and earth to fall into chaos. Everyone was using their own ways to resist that terrifying power. The countless godly spirits in the godly spirit world unleashed their terrifying divine might, sending out world-destroying power to resist, wanting to stop that power. It was the same for the underworld. Terrifying auras continuously exploded out, spreading out like thunderbolts as they resisted with all of their strength. This caused the godly spirit world and underworld to fall into chaos. The terrifying auras caused countless people to feel incredibly afraid, and countless creatures felt as if they were in a chaotic flood, feeling terror and helplessness. The three worlds fell into a state of chaos, and terrifying auras continuously ravaged the heavens and earth. Some places in space seemed to be unable to withstand it and started to crumble and twist, as if the world was about to be destroyed. Chapter 11:20. At that moment, only the higher beings could move. Under those terrifying ripples, everyone else's bodies froze and could not move at all. The human world was not spared from these abnormal changes either, and countless people froze in terror. Zhao Fu could only barely move, and his body instinctively trembled. It could be seen just how terrifying this power was. Heaven-shaking resistance exploded out, causing the power to gradually stop, and the pressure on everyone's bodies gradually weakened. At that moment, everyone let out a sigh of relief. It's about to end. The expressions of the higher beings who had gone to check on the abnormal changes eased, and they continued to head towards the center of the ripples. Within the boundless void, the crystal orb stopped in the air, and the ripples from the 8 massive crystals weakened. It seemed that things were about to calm down. However, at that moment, the crystal orb gradually turned into a hazy figure. This person seemed illusory, and it was impossible to see his appearance or figure. The only feeling he gave off was that he was incredibly powerful, far more powerful than anyone could imagine. In front of that power, even the heavens and earth seemed incredibly small, and countless higher beings were like ants. His gaze was profound as he looked at the world around him. A heaven-shaking power erupted. That power was unimaginably terrifying. It was as if the world had exploded and the shock waves swept through the three realms with the force of a thunderbolt. Countless resistance forces were instantly suppressed, and they could no longer resist at all. Countless godly spirits, emperors, and underworld officials' expressions fell. This power far surpassed what they could accept, and they felt incredibly small and powerless, causing them to feel a sense of defeat. The higher beings who had gone to check on the abnormal changes seemed to be pressed down by a massive formless hand, and they fell from the sky, smashing open large craters. That power pressed down on them, making it so that they could not move at all. Fortunately, this power did not harm anyone and only forcefully suppressed them, or else this power would have killed everyone. Zhao Fu was in a remote region in the outer domain, and he had not been able to resist at all. As this new wave of power exploded out, Zhao Fu's legs felt quite weak, and ordinary people would have long since fallen to the ground. The figure in the boundless void once again slowly disappeared, turning into a crystal pearl. The essence power of countless worlds, countless people, countries, sects, godly spirits, and underworld officials was gradually absorbed. No one could resist at all and allowed that terrifying power to absorb them. The heavens and earth continuously changed, and the sun, moon, and stars became dim. Boom! The 8 massive crystals exploded out with power that could destroy countless worlds. It was not just the heaven-awakened world, but the godly spirit world above and the underworld below were all covered by the 8 light. The 8 crystals were pouring power into the crystal bead in the middle. The power of the countless world source was also fusing into the crystal bead. As the crystal received an immeasurable amount of energy, the fluctuations it emitted became more and more terrifying, and its size gradually increased. In the end, the crystal bead became incomparably large, about 1/8 the size of the crystal stone. Its color also became 8 different colors, and the pressure it emitted became even stronger, making people feel like they were about to suffocate to death. The suction force had also disappeared, and the terrifying fluctuations had also slowly calmed down. The chaotic and collapsing scene in the world was also gradually recovering. Auspicious clouds covered the sky of the 3 worlds, and rainbow light descended, creating a beautiful scene as if it was a dream. At that moment, massive rainbow-colored orbs of light containing immense power slowly descended from the sky and fused into the ground before disappearing. Following this, rays of light rushed out of the ground as a massive crystal floated in the air. This crystal was round and 2 meters wide, and it floated 6 meters in the air, giving off a faint light. In the end, the phenomenon disappeared and the heavens and earth returned to how it was before. Everyone regained their ability to move and let out a breath of relief. Their bodies were covered in cold sweat. The phenomenon had finally come to an end. The major figures looked quite serious because even now, they still did not know what had happened. Just what had caused such a massive abnormal sign. The higher beings who had been planning to go to the center of the ripples to see what had caused them could not help but retreat. Before, the higher beings could not get close and could only investigate from afar. However, that place was now covered by a barrier, and even if they went, they would not be able to find anything. Moreover, they felt quite fearful of that power. Back in the human world, everyone had regained their mobility. Li Si brought people to the imperial palace and looked at Zhao Fu as he asked caringly, "Your Majesty, are you all right?" Zhao Fu had been looking at the sky in the direction of that terrifying shockwave, wondering what had happened. Hearing Li Si's words, Zhao Fu examined his body and found that there was nothing wrong, and he was about to say that he was fine. Just as he was about to say that he was fine, Zhao Fu's expression fell, and he was shocked to find that he could not use the Qin royal seal. "What's going on?" Zhao Fu felt quite panicked because the Qin royal seal was Qin's most important item. If something happened to it, it would greatly affect Qin. Zhao Fu tried to use the Great Qin seal again and found that he still could not use it. He did not have any power at all. Zhao Fu's expression was quite serious as he asked the others, "See if your official seals and City Lord seals can still be used." The others obeyed and tried, and their expressions fell as they reported, "No matter if it's the official seals or City Lord seals, none of them can be used." Some people hurriedly ran to Zhao Fu to report that countless City Lord seals and official seals could not be used. This caused Zhao Fu's heart to sink, and his expression became quite unsightly. Why had all of his seals' power failed? Zhao Fu immediately ordered people to go to the other worlds to see what was going on. He hoped that it was not just the human world that was like this. The people he sent out had not returned yet, and a series of system announcements sounded out in Zhao Fu's mind. It was not just Zhao Fu. Countless people in the Heaven Awakened world received system announcements as well. System announcement. A new era has begun in the Heaven Awakened world, and the laws have been changed. System announcement. All City Lord seals and official seals have lost their power and have become treasures. Please check for more information. System announcement. Region creatures have been weakened, and region power has been reduced. System announcement. The Heaven Domain Spirit Crystal has been opened, and every world can obtain a Heaven Domain Spirit Crystal. Please check for more information. Chapter 11:21. System announcement. The laws of heaven and earth have changed, and cultivation has changed. System announcement. Celestial Qi has been added to the heavens and earth, and the chances of becoming a celestial have increased. System announcement. Countless worlds' source energy has been restricted, and this will affect certain people and kingdoms. Please immediately check for more information. System announcement. The power of laws has received the power of the heavens and earth, and its restrictions on all things have been strengthened. Zhao Fu looked at the various system announcements in his mind in shock. He had never thought that something like this would happen. He did not know whether it was a blessing or a curse that he had encountered the opening of a new era in the Heaven Awakened world. Has something like this happened in the past? Zhao Fu asked the golden dragon within his body. It had seen much more than Zhao Fu, so it definitely knew about this. The golden dragon thought about it before replying, "I've read about it in some ancient texts but have never experienced it before. Every very long period of time, the laws of heaven and earth will indeed change, and the various systems will also change." Is this good or bad for Qin? Zhao Fu asked out of concern. The golden dragon shook its head and said, "I'm not sure yet because I don't know how much the laws of heaven and earth have changed. There are still many things that I don't know." Hearing this, Zhao Fu felt a bit disappointed. By now, the people that he had sent out to scout had returned to report that it was the same for the other world. All of the official seals and City Lord seals had lost their power. Because Zhao Fu had received the system announcements, he was not too surprised. Turning his gaze back to the system announcements, Zhao Fu started to look through them. The first thing that Zhao Fu saw was the system announcements that the City Lord seals and official seals had lost their power and had become treasures. The seals' functions had not decreased, and they had instead become stronger. The various powers that they had used to control cities were still there, and the City Lord seals were still City Lord seals and had not changed much. The biggest change was that he could no longer provide power. He could not use the city's power like before to obtain massive amounts of power. No matter if it was City Lord seals, official seals, or king seals, they could no longer use the power of kingdoms and cities. This was the true reason why all of the seals had lost their power. Then, it was time to talk about the present imprints functions. As mentioned before, they became precious artifacts, and all types of functions were increased. The first function was to imprint all kinds of precious artifacts, making them several times sturdier than before. They could be used as weapons, and they could even transform and fuse together. In other words, one could change the City Lord's seal into all sorts of shapes and fuse it into all sorts of equipment. For example, if a City Lord's seal was fused into a sword, that sword would become a special equipment, which was a City Lord's sword. The City Lord's sword's power was naturally quite great because it had fused with the City Lord's seal. Whoever obtained the City Lord's sword would be able to control the city. The second function was a defensive function. City Lord seals could unleash a barrier, which came with the City Lord seal. Once the City Lord was in danger, it would automatically activate, and it would not consume the City Lord's power. It would only consume the city's power, so it was incredibly tough. Its toughness was comparable to some specialized defensive items sold on the market. This was quite attractive, and the main thing was that it did not consume his own strength. The third function was the auxiliary function, and there were two auxiliary functions. The first was the ability to fly. City Lord seals already had this ability before, but now that they had been strengthened, their flying speed had greatly increased. The second was the recovery ability, which could increase one's recovery speed. For example, if one used up too much power, it would help one recover, and if one was injured, it would also help one recover faster. The fourth function was the appointment function. The appointment function gave one a profession, which meant that no matter what kind of seal it was, it could give others a profession. These were not ordinary professions but special professions that belonged to each city, and they could also receive some buffs from the city's power. The fifth function was relatively weaker, and it was the deterrence ability. No matter who obtained a City Lord seal, their bodies would naturally give off a deterrence that could make others feel afraid. The sixth function was the rarer one, which had a chance of giving birth to a city spirit. This was a spirit created by a city, and it was incredibly powerful. Not only could it control the entire city, but it could also use a portion of the city's power. Those were the 6 abilities of a relic, and Zhao Fu felt that they were quite good. However, he felt that it was quite a pity that he could not use the city's power to obtain massive amounts of power. If Zhao Fu had to choose, he would still choose strength, as it was the most practical. The third system announcement was that the region's creatures' power had been weakened. The region's creatures referred to the boss monsters of the region, and their power had been weakened. However, Zhao Fu was not sure by how much, but it was most likely a lot. After all, City Lord Seal's power could not be used anymore. Zhao Fu could not help but feel worried. The Wyverns, Corpse Soul Commanders, and the 8 aquatic beast kings were all region creatures to a certain extent. Without any hesitation, Zhao Fu immediately ordered people to go and take a look. After hearing about this, Zhao Fu's expression became quite unsightly. The Wyverns and Corpse Soul Commanders had lost 40% of their power. After losing 40% of their power, the Wyverns and Corpse Soul Commanders only had 60% of their normal power. As for the 8 aquatic beast kings, they had lost half of their power, making them feel quite infuriated. At the same time, Zhao Fu found out why the Wyverns had lost 40% of their power and the aquatic beast kings had lost 50% of their power. This was because the aquatic beast kings were true boss monsters, while the Wyverns and Corpse Soul Commanders had only obtained region power from Zhao Fu's City Lord seal, so they did not completely belong to the boss monsters of the region. As such, they had received 10% less power. The region's power had also been weakened, which meant that the power that a region could provide had been reduced. For example, if Zhao Fu cleared out a region, he would be able to obtain a region's power, but that region's power had been weakened. The fourth system announcement was that the Heaven Domain Spirit Crystal was the circular crystal that had just appeared. Every world only had one, and because Great Qin had unified the human world, the Heaven Domain Spirit Crystal had appeared near the Great Qin city. Zhao Fu looked at its information in detail and found that the Heaven Domain Spirit Crystal was a massive teleportation channel that could teleport one to another world. It could also be upgraded and could teleport to other worlds. If he upgraded it to the highest level, Zhao Fu could even use it to directly head to the heaven domain. This would be much more convenient in the future. Chapter 11:22. The fifth system announcement was about the changes to the nation armaments attribute. Zhao Fu was quite concerned about this, and after looking at it in detail, he gave a trace of a smile. He had finally seen some benefits. The nation armaments attributes had gone through many changes, and the biggest change was that it could now use the power of a kingdom. This required one to have a kingdom in order to use the power of a kingdom. Without a kingdom, it could not be used. It could be said that the nation armaments power had become much stronger, and the amount of fate it consumed had decreased. Moreover, the nation armament could speed up the recovery of a kingdom's fate. With this, when Zhao Fu used the nation armament in the future, he would not have to worry about exhausting Qin City's fate. He could avoid those things from before, and even if he used up all of his fate, he would be able to recover it. The sixth system announcement was about the changes to one's cultivation. Zhao Fu looked at it and found that there were no changes to low-level cultivation. What had changed were the higher-level cultivation. Zhao Fu did not care too much about this, as he was still quite far away from Zhao Fu. The seventh system announcement was about the increase in celestial qi, increasing the chances of becoming a celestial. This was incredibly attractive to higher beings, but to those with lower cultivations, it was a disaster. The eighth system announcement was about restrictions on using the world's source energy. This was a restriction for some experts and kingdoms, and it was a benefit. Those powerful cultivators and kingdoms would not be able to have as much power as before. The gap between those with lower cultivations and those with higher cultivations and those with lower cultivations and those with stronger cultivations had shrunk, and it was not as great as before. The ninth system announcement was about the strengthening of the laws of heaven and earth, which meant that it was no longer as destructive as before. Before, Zhao Fu's fireball could blast open a 3-meter-wide crater, but now it could only blast out a 2-meter-wide crater. The power was still the same, but it was less powerful. This was the effect of the strengthening of the laws of heaven and earth. The many changes had greatly weakened the three worlds' power, and the drawbacks far outweighed the benefit. This affected Qin City greatly, and the biggest one was the problem with City Lord seals. Now that the City Lord seals and official seals had lost their effects, even though they had become treasures and had many abilities, they could not make up for the fact that they could not directly use the city's power. Everything was based on the power of cultivation. Originally, Qin wanted to attack the world above, but now he thought how ridiculous it was. If both sides could mobilize the power of the city, then the power of the two city lords would not be too different. But now that cultivation base was the main focus, the difference in cultivation base between the two sides was not small. This was the problem of foundation. Others had developed for decades, but you had only developed for a few years. How could your cultivation base be higher than others? This was completely disadvantageous to Qin. If the other side attacked, it would be a disaster for Qin. Because the soldiers were all at stage 1, the difference in cultivation between city lords was not very big. However, the difference in cultivation between city lords was not small. Most of Qin's city lords' cultivation was weaker than those outside, and they had a slight advantage in rune equipment. If the two sides fought, Qin's side would be at a disadvantage. Thinking about this, Zhao Fu felt a headache. The heavenly domain boundary was about to disappear, and Qin was about to face a crisis. However, the city lords were not as strong, and the soldiers were not as afraid of the city lords anymore. They could send more people to deal with the city lords, and the city lords would not be as fearless as before. Before, a city lord could easily kill 100,000 stage 1 soldiers, but now 100,000 soldiers could chase after a city lord, and they did not have to fear the city lords at all. The countless changes and laws had ruined all of Qin's original plans, and Zhao Fu immediately called for an emergency meeting to discuss how to deal with the new situation. It was not just Qin who was like this, it was the same everywhere. The start of a new era would greatly affect all factions, and they had to quickly adapt or else they would be abandoned by the new era. Your Majesty, I believe that with Qin's current strength, he should focus on defense and not make any attack. Qin's biggest threat now should be the world above. There are only 2 months left, so we should make all the necessary defensive measures and prepare for the invasion of the world above. However, Qin is very difficult to defend against. I'm sure everyone knows about the Devil Horn Empire's situation. Because he has the strength of a dukedom kingdom, he is being suppressed by the surrounding worlds. He has his own foundation to defend, so he's fine. But Qin only has 6 years, and his foundation is not enough. Once the boundary of the heavenly domain disappears, it may attract the attention of the surrounding worlds. If they launch an attack, it will be difficult for Qin to resist. Their cultivations are generally higher than Qin's. It's already difficult for them to resist Qin of the grassy world. How can they resist a few? Your Majesty, this minister believes that we can nurture a devil world. With their savage and strange abilities, even if they don't have Stage 1 cultivation, they will be able to kill Stage 1 and above soldiers. No, Your Majesty. That demon world harms the heavens and is too bloody and cruel. Your Majesty, please reconsider. Humph. How pedantic. Facing such danger, Qin should be doing everything he can to defend against the outside world. So what if he's unscrupulous? In that case, is Your Majesty willing to send in the millions of residents who trust, love, and are loyal to him? If Your Majesty does such a thing, it will greatly hurt the people's hearts. However, is there any way for Qin to defend against the invasion of a few worlds? I wonder if the Western Alliance army has the method to create the door to another world. Qin now has people from the Western Alliance army. If we can summon a large number of otherworld creatures, it will reduce some of the pressure on Qin. Apologies. That method is something that Akhenaten and Su Yen have. Others do not know about the method to create the door to another world. Your Majesty, this minister believes that we should stop everything and use the remaining 2 months to destroy a world. With the power of 2 worlds, it should be no problem to defend against the world above. What a joke! It's not that easy to unify a world. Back then, when we launched the final battle, it took 2 months. Now that there's only 2 months left, it's possible that the upper realm will invade before we can conquer another world. Why don't we carry out a diplomatic policy to be friendly to all sides? In this way, they won't attack Qin, and Qin can take the opportunity to develop. This won't work. It will expose the existence of Qin in advance. Besides, Qin is a fat piece of meat, and many people will be tempted by it. It's a pity that the blood god pill can only be used once. Now, Qin can have a large number of blood god pills. If he gives them to the soldiers, they can directly improve their cultivation. In this way, the gap between the 2 worlds will be shortened, and Qin will not be so passive as now. Chapter 11:23. Zhao Fu felt a headache as he looked at the officials arguing below. However, he was also thinking about what to do. In the remaining 2 months, they had to have the strength to defend against the invasion. Great Qin could not fall just like that. Zhao Fu felt a headache coming on as he looked at the officials arguing below. Masanori Hanno and Hanno looked around and said hesitantly, "Your Majesty, in actuality, we don't have to send Qin's people into the devil world. Recently, the 100 devils have created a devil soul technique. This devil soul art can fuse with the devil world. When people enter the devil world, they will be affected by the devil soul art. Their memories will slowly disappear, and they will eventually turn into devils. They will lose all their memories and become a new creature. As long as there is something that can control them, they will be obedient and follow Qin's orders. No matter how much hatred they had towards Qin, after becoming devils, they will be reborn and will no longer have any hatred towards Qin. This would solve the problem that Zhao Fu had been worried about, which was that the devils that he had nurtured would turn on him. At first, Masanori Hanno had been hesitant to tell Zhao Fu about this, as this method would harm countless creatures. However, facing such immense pressure, Great Qin did not have any other options. They had to think of ways to defend against the invasion from the outside. Really? Zhao Fu looked at Masanori Hanno in delight. Zhao Fu had heard about the devil's abilities, but because of their flaws, he had never planned to nurture them. If he could solve this problem, Zhao Fu would have nothing to worry about. What's more, the devil's power would grow much faster than ordinary cultivators, and they would be able to provide powerful forces for Qin. Masanori Hanno nodded, confirming what she had said. Zhao Fu smiled and took Masanori Hanno to the City of Devils. He planned to nurture the devil world, and he ordered his officials to continue discussing Qin's future plans. After arriving at the City of Devils, Tamamonome fell into Zhao Fu's embrace and hugged Zhao Fu's waist as she twisted her body and said seductively, "Your Majesty, you've finally come. You've finally come. It's been a long time since we last met. Recently, I've been hearing about His Majesty's various romantic affairs. I really want His Majesty to do it." Masanori Hanno's face turned slightly red when she heard Tamamo no Mei's shameless words. Zhao Fu hugged Tamamo no Mei's enchanting body and smiled as he said, "Let's talk about it later. I now feel that it is time to build the demon world, and I also intend to make you 100 demons demon lords." "Is that so? Thank you, Your Majesty," Tamamo no Mei said in pleasant surprise. This was what they had been waiting for. As long as they could construct the devil world, their statuses would rise, and they would not have to stay in such a small place. Zhao Fu nodded. Tamamo no Mei sighed and said, "Then, Your Majesty, I will use my body to repay you, okay?" After saying that, Tamamo no Mei took off her kimono, revealing her pure white body. She charmingly smiled and extended her hand towards a certain part of Zhao Fu. Masanori Hanno could not bear to watch this anymore, and her face became bright red as she called out, "Little you, stop. Don't do this." Because Zhao Fu had important matters to take care of, he stopped Tamamo no Mei. Tamamo no Mei felt quite resentful, but she grabbed Zhao Fu's hand and stretched it into her clothes and pressed it against a certain part of her body as she begged, "Your Majesty, please reward me a bit. After this is done, Your Majesty must remember this." Zhao Fu felt quite helpless, and after panting for a while, Tamamo no Mei gave a satisfied smile and gave off an alluring aura as she hugged Zhao Fu. Masanori Hanno's face was bright red as she walked by the side. Following this, Zhao Fu gathered the 100 devils. In actuality, there were not just 100 devils but 362 of them. All of them had their own stories and abilities, and they were all incredibly powerful. These demons were split into two factions. One faction followed Daitengu, Shutenduji, and Tamamo no Mei, while the other faction followed Mamajigiri. Out of all of the demons, the strongest was most likely Mamajigiri. She was able to fight to a draw with the three great demons by herself, and her power was incredibly shocking. Zhao Fu gathered them and told Qin that he wanted to build a devil world, and he gave them 100 regions at once. Seeing that Zhao Fu valued them so much, the demons thanked Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu's idea was that since he had decided to build a devil world, he would nurture a large number of demons. After all, Zhao Fu was quite interested in the devil army, as their abilities were quite strange and would be of great help to Qin. Following this, Zhao Fu asked about how to build a devil world. Things were not as simple as Zhao Fu thought. A devil world was not something that could be built just because one wanted to, and it required a massive amount of resources. No wonder they had not built a devil world when they had conquered Japan. They did not have the ability to do so. First, they needed the materials for the devil formation, which could convert heaven and earth essence chi into devil chi, as well as all sorts of barrier equipment. As the devil world was called the devil world, it naturally needed to form a world. It was impossible to turn a world into a devil world, but it could be replaced by a barrier to form something similar to a world. Moreover, the devil chi had a strong mutation effect, and the barrier could ensure that the devil chi would not leak out and cause harm to other people. At the same time, it could also prevent other people from entering the devil world, and it could also prevent the demons from escaping. It also needed countless devil chi stones, which were mainly used to provide devil chi, which could make the devil chi in the devil world denser and speed up the process of ordinary people becoming demons. There were also many other things that Zhao Fu would not introduce one by one. Zhao Fu immediately ordered people to prepare these things, and he also planned the place where the devil world would be built. It was on an island with more than 100 regions in the eastern continent. Because the devil world was too dangerous, in order to avoid losing control and causing huge casualties, this place was relatively remote. The devils started to make preparations. They were going to use their blood and devil chi to condense 100 devil bloodstone, which would be the core item of the devil world. It took the devils 3 days to condense this 100 devil bloodstone. All of their faces were pale and their bodies were incredibly weak. It seemed that condensing the 100 devil bloodstone was not an easy task for them. Following this, they handed the 100 devil bloodstone to Zhao Fu. This 100 devil bloodstone looked like jade and was rectangular. It was about 1 finger long and gave off a bloody smell, as well as a strange, massive power. Zhao Fu was going to refine the 100 devil bloodstone so that the devils would listen to Zhao Fu's orders. Of course, Zhao Fu gave each of the 300 or so devils a drop of his blood. Zhao Fu had an imperial bloodline, and the power contained within it was incredibly powerful. It was of great help to devils and could cause their bloodlines to slightly change. Chapter 11:24. Now that everything was ready, it was time to create the devil world. Zhao Fu went to the center of the island and saw that the devil formation had already been set up. Zhao Fu stood at the center and placed the 100 devil bloodstone into the magic formation. The magic formation was immediately activated and gave off boundless blood-red light. The magic formation gave off strange, mournful, pained, and twisted sounds that could cause people's hairs to stand on end. Sensing this power, Zhao Fu understood that the devil world was incredibly evil and twisted. However, so what? Qin needed this power. Seeing that the devil formation had been activated, the surrounding devils smiled and squatted down. They placed their hands on the magic formation and sent large amounts of devil chi into it. A massive aura spread out as the devil formation started to activate. The devils continued to send devil chi into the magic formation, causing the aura that the devil formation gave off to become stronger and stronger. The devil chi stones in the surroundings all turned into dust and were absorbed into the devil formation. The ground suddenly started to tremble and the sky started to change. Clouds swirled and the light gradually dimmed as a dangerous aura flooded out. Boom! A shocking explosion sounded out as the devil formation gave off a blinding blood-red light and started to spin. A pillar of light containing terrifying power shot into the sky and slammed into the sky, causing the sky to tremble. The blood-red pillar of light gave off a large amount of blood-red light, causing the sky to be dyed blood-red. A bloody, evil, berserk, and twisted aura covered the entire sky, causing people to feel terror. Standing within the blood-red pillar of light, Zhao Fu stretched out a hand towards the sky, activating the final step of the devil formation. Boom! An explosion sounded out as the 100 devil blood stone at the center of the magic formation gave off a terrifying wave of devil energy, causing the surrounding devils to be unable to stand stably. The 100 devil blood stone turned into a ray of blood-red light and shot into the sky along the blood-red pillar of light. Boom! Boom! Another two massive sounds sounded out as two terrifying auras containing unstoppable power descended from the sky, causing the surrounding devils to feel their bodies sink. In the sky, an intense blood-red sun and blood-red moon gave off boundless auras as they simultaneously appeared in the sky. In the devil world, the blood-red moon and blood-red sun coexisted. There was no day or night, no yin or yang, only chaos. The blood-red sun and blood-red moon announced the formation of the devil world. From the distance, the blood-red sun and blood-red moon could be seen, and the blood-red sun and blood-red moon started to move over. At that moment, Zhao Fu activated all of the barrier items, and rays of light flew into the sky and gathered together, forming a powerful barrier that covered the blood-red area. Zhao Fu thought that things were over, but at that moment, the blood-red sun and blood-red moon gave off an intense blood-red light as two hazy figures flew out. One was humanoid, but it looked like a crow. It had hands and feet that were bird claws. It also had a pair of wings that were blood-red in color. The other looked like a rabbit and it had blood-red fur. It had 4 blood-red eyes and a blood-red crescent moon mark on its forehead. The two figures gave off terrifying auras as they flew down from the sky and entered Zhao Fu's body, and before Zhao Fu could react, they had already fused together. Zhao Fu immediately inspected his body but did not find anything strange. However, there were now 2 marks on his chest, one of which looked like a crow and the other of which looked like a rabbit. The 2 marks fused together. Following this, the silver dragon mark that Zhao Fu had obtained from the 10,000 dragon stage floated out and fused with the 2 marks, forming a brand new mark. One side of the mark was blood-red, and it was a combination of a rabbit and a crow. The other side was a silver dragon mark, and it looked quite beautiful. After the marks fused, they once again hid within Zhao Fu's body, and the ripples in the surroundings calmed down. However, the sky was still blood-red, and the blood-red sun and blood-red moon were still there. However, they had not disappeared. Zhao Fu turned and asked the devils around him, what were those 2 figures just then? Even though he did not feel any effects right now, it was better to know in case anything unexpected happened in the future. Mama Jiggery calmly smiled as she said, "Your Majesty, those are the 2 most powerful devils. They are the 2 strongest demons among us. One is the Sun Demon and the other is the Moon Demon. When we summon the Blood Sun and Blood Moon, we are actually summoning them. They actually floated out and entered your Majesty's body. This is their acknowledgement of your Majesty. Now, your Majesty can use devil power, which will increase your Majesty's power and will not affect your Majesty at all." Hearing this, Zhao Fu felt at ease and did not mind too much. Now that the devil world had been formed, it was time to test out its effects. Zhao Fu felt quite expectant, and he ordered some people to bring in some wild beasts. At the same time, he let in some criminals and rebels. After entering the devil world, these people and wild beasts did not react at all. They were only afraid of their surroundings, and traces of blood-red aura started to corrode their bodies. The first to react was a black bull, and its gentle gaze was replaced by a cruel, twisted, and ruthless gaze. It gave a massive roar and started to attack other wild beasts. It attacked a leopard, which was a predator. Facing the black bull's attacks, the leopard used its sharp teeth and claws to attack. However, the black bull allowed it to attack, and in the end, it was the black bull that killed the leopard. Its body was covered with wounds as it started to eat the leopard's corpse. This was quite shocking because cows were herbivores and only ate grass. However, as the black bull ate the flesh, more and more blood-red aura flowed towards the leopard, and the blood-red aura that had entered the leopard's body was also eaten by the black bull. The black bull's aura gradually became stronger. After eating the leopard, the black bull lay on the ground and rested, recovering from its injuries. Its injuries quickly recovered, as if there was some sort of energy helping it recover. Half a day later, the black bull once again got up and started to attack the deer. By now, the black bull's strength and speed had greatly increased, and it was able to smash the deer to death in just a few blows before continuing to eat its body. This continued on the third day, and after smashing 2 people to death, the black bull started to eat their corpses. One person's head was crushed, causing blood and brain matter to splatter everywhere, looking quite terrifying and vicious. The black bull happily ate, and after finishing the 2 people's corpses, it suddenly gave a massive roar and a powerful aura exploded out. It actually stood up, and its body gradually took on human form. It was 3 meters tall, and its front hooves became sharp claws. Even though its eyes were still savage and twisted, it now had a trace of intelligence. A black bull devil had appeared. Chapter 11:25. Zhao Fu looked at the black bull devil in front of him in shock. In just 3 days, it had gone from a wild beast to a devil. This speed was quite shocking, and it also had a trace of intelligence. Moreover, this black bull devil's power had become incredibly shocking. As a wild beast, its strength was about the same as a stage 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 persons, but now its strength was the same as a stage 5 to 6 persons. In other words, it had gone up by 3 stages in just 3 days. Zhao Fu found that the devil world had massive potential. Raising 3 stages in 3 days was something that Zhao Fu had never seen before, apart from blood god pills. If this black bull devil also consumed a blood god pill, its strength would be at least at stage 0 to 9, and it might even directly become a stage 1 devil. When he thought about that, a trace of a smile appeared on Zhao Fu's face. Zhao Fu stood in the air. Because he was the ruler of the devil world, he did not have to worry about the blood-red qi corroding him. In actuality, Zhao Fu's sovereign bloodline made him immune to this corrosive power. As the 300 or so demons around them were demons to begin with, they felt very comfortable staying here. They weren't affected much as their auras and atmosphere were compatible with their attribute. Zhao Fu descended from the sky and appeared above the black bull devil's head. By now, the black bull devil had discovered Zhao Fu and looked at Zhao Fu savagely. It roared and dense devil qi spread out as it prepared to attack Zhao Fu. Bang! At that moment, a blood-red rune floated out of the black bull devil's head, and a massive power caused it to kneel to the ground, causing the ground to cave in. At that moment, the black bull devil knelt on the ground, looking incredibly terrified. Zhao Fu expressionlessly looked at the black bull devil. Zhao Fu did not do anything, but the black bull devil's restrictions came into effect. All of the devils in the devil world were under Zhao Fu's control, and none of them could resist. Only then could Zhao Fu feel at ease using them. Following this, Zhao Fu looked at one of the humans. At first, this person was able to maintain some of his rationality and knew that his strength and body could not compare to that of the wild beast. As such, he created some simple tools and killed a few wild beasts. But after a few days, this person began to lose control and began to kill other people. Then, like a wild beast, he crawled on other people's corpses and ate them. Zhao Fu watched as he happily tore open a person's chest and dug out a fresh heart. He ate it in big mouthfuls and his face was covered in blood. The scene was extremely bloody. This person could no longer be called a human. After eating the heart, this person was still not satisfied. He tore open another sheep and began to devour its flesh. Boom! A massive wave of devil qi spread out as that person started to turn into a devil. He howled as his skin gradually turned black and his hands became sharp claws. His face twisted as fangs grew out of his mouth. This person had become a troll, and his strength had reached stage 0 to 6. He was slightly weaker than the black bull devil because of the black bull devil's massive body. Zhao Fu walked towards this troll, and the troll wanted to attack Zhao Fu. However, a blood-red rune appeared on its head, causing it to kneel on the ground. The power that flowed out of its body caused its eyes to be filled with terror, and it understood how terrifying this person was. Devil Lord! I know I was wrong. Zhao Fu had never thought that this person who had become a troll would still have the ability to speak and the intelligence of a normal person. However, that was all. He seemed to have become a different person, and his memories seemed to have disappeared. He now looked like a wild beast that could speak and had the intelligence of a normal person. In actuality, this person still had some influence on Zhao Fu. After letting these people in, this person had loudly cursed at Zhao Fu, cursing Zhao Fu to die a horrible death and wanting to eat Zhao Fu's flesh. He was also filled with hatred towards Zhao Fu. This person was someone who had not surrendered when clearing out regions. It was because Qin had killed his family, which was why he hated Zhao Fu so much. However, now, he was like a dog lying in front of Zhao Fu. Seeing this, Zhao Fu gave a pleased smile. It seemed that the Devil Soul technique was quite effective. Following this, Zhao Fu saw a few more creatures that had become devils, and the situation was similar to before. Now that he knew how useful the devil world was, Zhao Fu decided to greatly nurture them. In the future, he would send large numbers of people and beasts here. In actuality, all creatures had spirits and could become devils. However, some animals were easier to become devils than plants, and among animals, humans were the easiest to become devils because they had spirits. Even if the people here did not become devils, they would become catalysts for other beasts to become devils. This was because human flesh and blood could catalyze other creatures to become devils, which was why devils liked to eat people. The people here didn't just refer to the human race. All intelligent races had this catalytic effect and could easily turn into monsters. In the future, when Zhao Fu cleared out regions, he would not have to kill those people. Even if they did not surrender, it would be fine. There were also some criminals in Qin's territory who would join in to provide battle strength for Qin. The devils that were nurtured were much stronger than soldiers of the same stage. For example, even though the Black Bull Devil was only stage 6 to 6, it could fight 2 or 3 stage 6 to 6 soldiers. If they were fed blood god pills, they could immediately be sent to the battlefield. On the battlefield, they could devour flesh and blood to grow. Thinking about the massive effects of the devil world, Zhao Fu grinned. After returning to Qin's palace, Zhao Fu brought back the devils. This was the first time that the devils had stepped into Qin's palace, and they were quite shocked at how grand and luxurious Qin's palace was. They also felt quite excited, as it was their first time stepping into the center of power in Qin. Zhao Fu personally gave an imperial edict and conferred the title of Devil Lord to these devils. In the future, they would be able to control everything in the devil world. The devils knelt on the ground and thanked Zhao Fu. Rays of golden light covered their bodies, and they officially received Qin's kingdom power. They also received the corresponding authority, causing the devils to look quite delighted. There were also many ministers in the imperial court. They were worried about letting these cruel and twisted monsters attend the court. After conferring the titles, Zhao Fu ordered people to count how many people they could send into the devil world, as well as how many beasts they could send in. 40 million people could be sent in, as they were still clearing out regions. This number increased every day and 50 million beasts could be sent in. In total, there should be 100 million or so devils. Zhao Fu wondered how many devils they would be able to nurture. Zhao Fu planned to wait until they became devils before having them come out of the devil world and not have them continue to fight. Even though they would be able to nurture even more powerful devils, it would cause unnecessary internal strife. Chapter 11:26. Zhao Fu did not have high hopes for 100 million devils. As long as he could nurture 30 million devils, Zhao Fu would be quite satisfied. If these 30 million devils were given blood god pills, they would be able to defend against 100 million stage 1 soldiers. Qin would continue to nurture the devils, and in the future, the devil army would become one of Qin's main forces. By the time Zhao Fu returned, the various ministers had already come up with a defensive system, which was currently being constructed. Zhao Fu asked them about some details and allowed them to do as they pleased. At that moment, Zhao Fu's thoughts were elsewhere. Zhao Fu was doing everything he could to increase Qin's strength. Only with great strength could Zhao Fu feel at ease. Zhao Fu's second goal was the Ghost Soldier Conversion Ground, which was the valley where Qin had converted ghost soldiers. The valley had fused with many magic formations, forming a special treasure ground that could connect to the 9 underworlds and absorb 9 underworlds in Qi. Qin's ghost soldiers had gone through many battles and had suffered many losses, but they had been replenished, and their numbers were maintained at 30 million. In actuality, what Zhao Fu cared about the most was that he could convert dead soldiers into ghost soldiers. During the Unification War, Qin had lost a large number of soldiers, and Zhao Fu had taken good care of their corpses. If he could convert them into ghost soldiers, Qin's strength would greatly increase, and Qin's safety would be somewhat guaranteed. Currently, Zhao Fu could convert them at any time, but he lacked something to control them. The ghost soldiers from before had all been controlled by the Ghost King Seal and Ghost General Seal, and without their control, the ghost soldiers would immediately go out of control. Zhao Fu was thinking about something that could replace the Ghost King Seal, and Zhao Fu could not help but think of the Royal Seals, which were the royal seals that Qin had used to destroy a few kingdoms. The Ghost King Seal had king's power, which was why it had such powerful commanding effects. Ordinary king seals also had king's power, but their attributes were different. The Ghost King Seal was a ghost world attribute and could command ghost soldiers, while other king seals were not, so they could not command ghost soldiers. If he could convert these royal seals into Ghost King Seals, he would be able to control ghost soldiers. Zhao Fu had asked the Golden Dragon and found that this method was feasible. However, the price was not small. Those royal seals were the royal seals of barony royal cities, and in order to convert them into Ghost King Seals. In order to do this, he had to cut off the connection between the royal seals and royal cities. In other words, he had to destroy the barony royal cities and turn them into cities. Leveling up a capital city into a royal city required an astronomical amount of EXP. The price for a royal city to become a capital city was quite great, and it would also affect the legacy. However, after thinking about it, Zhao Fu decided to destroy the barony royal city and turn it into a ghost seal. Now, not only did the city lord seals become treasures, but the official seals and royal seals also became treasures and could no longer use the royal city's power. As such, Zhao Fu did not feel that it would be a pity to destroy them and obtain more power. As for legacies, Zhao Fu did not care about them. Now, Qin had 7 royal seals. 5 of them were from the outside world, and the remaining 2 were from Ramus Kingdom and Tina Pendragon's royal seal. Zhao Fu thought about it and decided that Tina Pendragon's power was only greater than his, so the royal seals were quite important to her. As such, he kept her royal seal and only wanted the other 6 royal seals. Zhao Fu thought about it and decided that Tina Pendragon's power was only equal to his, so the royal seal was quite important to her. As such, he decided to keep her royal seal for her, and he only needed the other 6 royal seals. A while later, Zhao Fu destroyed the 6 royal cities and had them drop back to capital cities. Holding the 6 royal seals, Zhao Fu went to the Ghost Soldier Conversion area. This place was still the same as before, and Yin Qi filled the air. There were faint ghosts wandering about, and the scene was quite terrifying. If it was an ordinary person, they would not dare to take a step close to this place. Zhao Fu went to the center of the conversion area. This place was connected to the underworld and could absorb underworld Yin Qi, making it the most suitable place for conversion. Zhao Fu placed the 6 royal seals at the center of the conversion formation before activating the magic formation. A massive aura instantly spread out. Boom! A massive wave of Yin Qi erupted out like a volcano, causing the surrounding temperature to plummet. The cold Yin Qi flooded out, causing people's hairs to stand on end, and they could not help but feel terror. Under Zhao Fu's control, this wave of yin qi gradually formed an orb that covered the 6 royal seals. The conversion formation continuously absorbed yin qi from the underworld, causing the orb to become larger and larger. In the end, it formed a 1,000-meter wide orb of yin qi that floated in the air. The 6 royal seals quickly absorbed yin qi and started to convert. Their respective powers gradually turned into ghostly energy, and their auras gradually became cold and eerie. The 1,000-meter wide orb of yin qi was continuously absorbed by the 6 royal seals and became smaller and smaller. Boom! Zhao Fu fully activated the conversion formation, causing the entire area to tremble. An even more powerful suction force spread into the underworld, and a massive wave of cold and ancient underworld will rushed out from the ground and entered the 6 royal seals. Boom! 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 6 massive explosions sounded out as the 6 royal seals instantly absorbed all of the surrounding yin qi and gave off boundless gray light. A terrifying king's aura exploded out as the royal seals had been successfully converted. Zhao Fu dispelled the conversion formation and grabbed at the 6 royal seals in the air. Their appearances had greatly changed. First, their colors became gray, and the dragons engraved on them became ghost dragons. There were 4 words engraved on them, which were the words of the underworld, Underworld King Seal. Holding it in one's hand, it gave off an extremely cold and eerie feeling, and it contained a very powerful power. Underworld Royal Seal. A royal seal formed by absorbing Underworld's yin qi and Underworld will. It is a high-grade royal seal, and it has many effects in the underworld. It can command 10 million ghost soldiers. Looking at the information, Zhao Fu grinned. A single royal seal could command 10 million ghost soldiers, so 6 royal seals would be 60 million ghost soldiers. Qin would have an additional 60 million ghost soldiers, and adding on the 3,000 royal seals, he would have 90 million ghost soldiers, which would be of great help to Qin. In the future, if he obtained more royal seals, he could convert them into underworld royal seals and revive Qin's soldiers, allowing them to once again conquer the world for Qin. Chapter 11:27. Moreover, the ghost soldiers could restrain the death race and ghosts, so it would be easy to deal with them. They would be very useful in future battles. Zhao Fu had already predicted that the ghost soldiers would become one of the main forces of Qin in the future, provided that they conquered more countries and took their royal seals. It was a pity that he could not use the power of the Qin royal seal. If Zhao Fu did not use his other powers and only had stage 8 cultivation, he would definitely die if he went to assassinate the kings of other countries. After all, they had countless soldiers and powerhouses. Without the power of the Qin royal seal, Zhao Fu would not be able to resist them at all. Before, Zhao Fu had used the power of the Qin royal seal, which was a level 11 Marquis royal seal, to fight against them. Now there was no hope at all, and he could only rely on his own power to become stronger. The 6 underworld royal seals had many uses in the underworld, but it was not clear what they were. This was because Zhao Fu did not have the ability to go to the underworld, and even if he went there, he would not have any purpose, so he did not want to go. Also, Zhao Fu could not use the 6 underworld royal seals because one of Zhao Fu's ghost king seals had turned into a dragon of fate and fused into Zhao Fu's body. Ordinary people could only use one seal, so Zhao Fu appointed 6 ghost lords to control the ghost soldiers. Just like those demon lords, Zhao Fu would never make anyone a king, nor could he tolerate a second king. In Qin, the highest level was the lord. He made these demons and ghost generals lords mainly because they had great potential in the future and would become one of the main forces of Qin. There were still 2 months left, and Zhao Fu wondered if he would be able to obtain a royal seal. If he could obtain a few more ghost soldiers, that would be for the best. That way, Great Qin's strength would become a bit stronger, and Great Qin's safety would be guaranteed. Whether it was cultivating demons or ghost soldiers, they were still in the early stages, and there were many restrictions. In 2 months, when the heavenly domain boundary would disappear, Qin needed a powerful method. Zhao Fu was thinking about what else Qin could be trained and what powers could be used. The Golden Dragon suddenly said, "How about you destroy all of Qin's City Lord seals and fuse them into Qin's various beast bodies? Even though the boss monster's power will be weakened, they will still be greatly boosted. They should be able to provide great support for Qin." When Zhao Fu heard about destroying all City Lord seals, his first reaction was to refuse. Even though City Lord seals were not as powerful as before, they were still quite powerful. Moreover, City Lord seals were the core of a city, and destroying them would have a massive impact on the city. Even though the Golden Dragon's suggestion was quite attractive, if all City Lord seals were removed, the kingdom's attributes, kingdom fate, and power would all be greatly weakened. Destroying all of the City Lord seals was definitely not an option, but what if there was a way to resolve this? To solve the core problem of the city. As expected, the Golden Dragon had an idea and did not disappoint Zhao Fu. His suggestion was to use official seals to replace City Lord seals. The number of official seals depended on the kingdom's power, and the kingdom could decide how many they had. Right now, they could not provide great power, so they could create more official seals to replace the original City Lord seals. After fusing official seals into a city, the city would become a true official city, and the official seals would have all of the effects of a City Lord seal. The previous City Lord seal could be destroyed and would not affect the city at all. However, there was a big downside, which was that, in the future, these cities would be completely bound to Qin. If something happened to Qin or he was destroyed, these cities would fall back to the towns. When that time came, not many of Qin's cities would remain. Zhao Fu thought about it and decided to use official seals instead of City Lord seals. After all, if Qin was destroyed, these cities would not be what Zhao Fu cared about, and Zhao Fu would be happy to see them all fall back to the towns. However, this would also have a big impact on the legatee. Some important cities could not be destroyed, and Qin's royal seals could not be destroyed either, as that would greatly affect the kingdom. Some capital cities could not be destroyed either, as they were the pillars of Qin, and they could not be destroyed. Zhao Fu planned to destroy some ordinary cities, as this would not have a big impact on the legatee. It was a pity that official seals could not be fused into beasts' bodies. If official seals could be fused into beasts' bodies, Zhao Fu would laugh himself to death. Official seals could be condensed by any kingdom, and even though the power would be divided, Qin was about to become a dukedom kingdom, so it would be able to condense more than 10 times as many official seals. If they were all fused into beasts' bodies, Qin would be able to form a beast army that could sweep through the world. Their auras would shoot to the heavens, and no one would be able to stop them. After all, each beast had half the power of a region boss, and if such an army was formed, it would be incredibly terrifying. With such an army, Qin would not have to fear anything in the outer domain, and it would not have to face such pressure. It was a pity that official seals could not be fused into beasts, and there was nothing Zhao Fu could do. After making this decision, Zhao Fu gathered his subordinates and prepared to destroy City Lord seals. This was an incredibly important matter, and he could not afford to be careless. Following this, Zhao Fu ordered people to count the number of wyverns and corpse soul commanders. After all, Zhao Fu had seen their power after fusing with City Lord seals, so they were Zhao Fu's top choices. Next were the spiders and giant wolves. As for the black forest horses and giant deer, they were more suited to be mounts and not battle beasts. There were also the illusion flower devils, which could give off pollen that could cause people to hallucinate. Stage 1 flower devils could easily confuse Stage 1 soldiers, Stage 2 flower devils could easily confuse Stage 2 soldiers, and so on. They had massive potential, and there was no limit to their numbers. Zhao Fu could nurture as many as he wanted. This replaced the position of the 100 ghost illusionists, as there were only 300 of them in total. Because Zhao Fu had sealed the 6 paths demon images, there was a gap of 299, which was simply too few. Now, every battle that Great Qin launched was incredibly large, and the 100 ghost illusionists were unable to do as they wished. On such a large battlefield, they were unable to do much. Now that they had lost their City Lord Seal's power, the 100 ghost illusionists had taken a heavy blow. Zhao Fu could only give up on them and use them in smaller battles, replacing them with illusion flower devils. Zhao Fu was nurturing the illusion flower devils in the flower domain, so their growth speed would greatly increase. Zhao Fu also planted the world flowers there, which would be of great help to the illusion flower devils. Chapter 11:28. The results showed that Qin now had 8,930 wyverns, and 7,330 of them could fight. There were also 560,000 corpse soul soldiers and 8,540 corpse soul commanders. Next were the illusion flower devils, which numbered 30,000, 2 million spiders, and 4 million or so giant wolves. The most numerous were the giant wolves, which were the orc giant wolves. Qin had been nurtured as a cavalry mount, so they naturally had the most giant wolves. The demon god spiders had been nurtured quite late, but they reproduced incredibly quickly, so they were ranked second. The 30,000 illusion flower devils were a pleasant surprise, but as for the wyverns and corpse soul commanders, Zhao Fu felt a bit disappointed. There were not even 10,000 of each. However, out of all of the beasts, they were the most powerful, so it was understandable that they did not have many of them. Moreover, Zhao Fu was pleasantly surprised by the number of corpse soul soldiers. Even though they could not compare to corpse soul commanders, they still had stage 4 strength, and there were 560,000 of them. This was more than enough to bring out the value of a high-grade army. Qin now had 110,000 cities, and this did not include the ones in the southern continent of the Dark Demon world. The relationship between the Night Dynasty and Qin was quite close, but their true relationship had not been revealed yet. Zhao Fu was not in a hurry to devour the Night Dynasty, as it still had its value. 110,000 cities meant that he could obtain 110,000 City Lord seals, and Qin could nurture 110,000 war beasts. Thinking about that, Zhao Fu felt quite excited. Even though the creatures in the regions had been weakened, they were still quite powerful. Zhao Fu estimated that a single war beast would be able to deal with 60,000 or 70,000 stage 1 soldiers. If it had not been weakened before, it would have been enough to deal with 100,000 soldiers. Before, only city lords could deal with true boss monsters, and ordinary stage 1 soldiers would only be sending themselves to their deaths. A single war beast could fight against 60 to 70,000 soldiers, and 10 of them could fight against 6 to 700,000. 100 of them could fight against 6 to 7 million, 1,000 of them could fight against 60 to 70 million, and 10,000 of them could fight against 6 to 700 million. Zhao Fu had 110,000 of them, so their numbers could reach 6 to 7 billion. This was definitely one of Qin's most powerful killing moves, and Zhao Fu had counted them one by one. If so many ferocious beasts were to charge at the same time, their momentum would definitely be earth-shattering and unstoppable, and their power would far exceed the power of 6 or 7 billion soldiers. Now, Zhao Fu's confidence was low. He relaxed and laughed. Qin had the ability to fight with them. Standing on the Heaven Prayer platform, Zhao Fu wrote an imperial edict. Then, he took out the Qin imperial seal and stamped it. Then, he said, "Today, I order to abolish the Castellan seal and replace it with the official seal." Boom! A shocking explosion sounded out as a black pillar of light shot into the sky from the Heaven Prayer platform, causing Qin's fate to go through changes. Zhao Fu raised the imperial edict, and it turned into motes of black light before disappearing. Boom! 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 Explosions sounded out as pillars of light shot into the sky. Massive auras threw the heavens and earth into chaos, causing the weather to change. The powerful auras covered the entire human world. Countless cities exploded out with pillars of light, and it was as if countless pillars of light had appeared in the heavens and earth. Images of imperial edicts slowly descended from the sky and fused into the cities, making them seem to be covered by a layer of black light. The image of the imperial edict appeared in the city hall and gradually turned into a black seal, and the city lord's seals gradually lost their luster. Now Zhao Fu had successfully abolished the city lord seals and replaced them with Qin's official seal. Now it was time to create the war beast. In total, there were around 15,000 wyverns and corpse soul commanders. Before, Zhao Fu had fused 8,000 or so city lord seals into them, so he now had 7,000 wyverns and corpse soul commanders. Zhao Fu had spent less than 10,000 city lord seals, while Zhao Fu still had 100,000 or so city lord seals. The 30,000 flower devils had great support abilities, and their battle power was not weak either, so they could all be fused into city lord seals. However, there were still 70,000 or so left. The demon god spider's basic strength was at stage 2, and the elite grade spiders had stage 3 strength, while the chief grade spiders had stage 4 strength. Out of 2 million spiders, choosing 20,000 chief grade spiders was not too difficult. Zhao Fu still had 50,000 city lord seals, and the giant wolves were quite weak. Ordinary giant wolves only had stage 1 strength, while chief grade spiders only had stage 3 strength. Now Zhao Fu had two choices. The first was to nurture giant wolves, but they were only stage 3 at most, or the second was to nurture ordinary corpse soul soldiers. Ordinary corpse soul soldiers had stage 4 strength, and after fusing with city lord seals, they would definitely be stronger than the giant wolves. Moreover, there were 560,000 corpse soul soldiers, which far surpassed the number of city lord seals. Even if he fused all of the remaining city lord seals into them, it would not be a problem. However, after thinking about it, Zhao Fu decided to take out 20,000 city lord seals and fuse them into the giant wolves. With the giant wolves' speed and ferocious attacks, they might be more useful than the corpse soul soldiers. The remaining 30,000 or so city lord seals were all fused into the corpse soul soldiers. Before fusing, Zhao Fu fed them a large number of medicinal pills and spirit medicines that could purify bloodlines. This greatly increased the effects of fusing with the city lord seals. After doing all of this, Zhao Fu first fused the city lord seals into the wyverns and corpse soul commanders. The wyverns became nearly 110 meters tall, while the corpse soul commanders were 100 meters tall. Because of how the wyverns had been killed last time, Zhao Fu had people design a set of dragon armor for them. The materials were at least gold grade, and they had to be legendary grade materials as well as gold grade talisman stones. The talisman dragon armor was even stronger than ordinary epic grade defensive equipment, and it was enough to protect the wyverns. As for the corpse soul commanders, they had heavy armor and shields, and they were all talisman equipment, so there was nothing to worry about. Zhao Fu also fused city lord seals into the ordinary corpse soul soldiers. They were a bit shorter than the corpse soul commanders, only 80 or 90 meters tall, and their auras were slightly weaker. They were also equipped with heavy armor and shield. Zhao Fu then went to the flower domain and gathered the 30,000 flower devils together. He then fused the 30,000 city lord seals into them, causing powerful auras to explode out. The flower devils gave off large amounts of green light, and their bodies gradually became bigger until they were 70 or 80 meters tall. The humanoid plant bodies became more humanoid and stronger. Their facial features became clearer, and the flowers on their heads gave off an even more intoxicating fragrance. Chapter 11:29. The illusion flower devil's main strength was support, so they lacked strength. As such, Zhao Fu prepared a set of talisman armor for them and added defensive barriers. With the illusion flower devil's abilities, they would become the main targets on the battlefield, so they had to be protected. Following this, Zhao Fu went to the spider domain, where the spiders were bred. There was already a large palace here. This was the Spider Palace, the palace that Zhao Fu had rewarded Elise with. After coming here, Elise led a group of people out with a flirtatious smile. Apart from 3 female attendants with short silver hair, there were also dozens of women with short black hair and blood-red eyes. All of them had exquisite facial features and graceful figures. Zhao Fu rarely came here, so he did not know the exact situation here. Only after asking around did he find out that Elise had the ability to turn spiders into humans. However, the requirements for a bloodline were quite high, and they were not weak either. Elise had only nurtured dozens of black-haired female attendants, who were slightly weaker than the silver-haired female attendants. Zhao Fu did not pay too much attention to these details, and he had Elise call out the spiders she had chosen. Elise replied softly. She then waved her hand and countless dense, hair-raising sounds rang out. Countless 5-meter-long black spiders surged forth like a tidal wave. The scene was quite frightening. Zhao Fu fused the city lord seals into their bodies, and they gave off large amounts of black light as hazy images of spiders floated out of their bodies. These spiders were all demon god spiders, and their bodies contained a trace of divine blood. Those images were the spider god spiders. After the illusory images appeared, the spiders' bodies quickly grew until they were 700 meters tall. Their terrifying auras spread out like a tidal wave, and the most eye-catching thing was their 8 shiny black legs. They were like sharp blades, causing people to feel a chill in their hearts. Zhao Fu gave a pleased smile and prepared special sets of spider armor for them, giving them special protection. Finally, there were the giant wolves. After fusing with the city lord seals, their bodies became 70 or 80 meters long, and they gave off ferocious auras. Zhao Fu also helped them put on wolf armor. All of the beasts were incredibly terrifying, and now that they had all sorts of armor, their effects were unimaginable. Zhao Fu could almost see them sweeping through the world. Now that he had the beast army and the devil army, the ghost soldiers were quickly growing, and Zhao Fu did not have to worry about the outside world. There were still 2 months, and Qin only had to clear out the regions and raise the Qin kingdom to a level 1 dukedom kingdom. 1 month later, the weather outside the human world suddenly changed as a large amount of the Heaven Awakened world's fate flowed into the human world. A massive rainbow barrier appeared. This was the true appearance of the heaven domain boundary. Everyone in the surroundings immediately sensed these changes and felt quite confused. They had never thought that the heaven domain boundary would appear so quickly. This meant that that world was about to fuse into the Heaven Awakened world. This meant that the world domain boundary would appear so quickly. Because the time was short, heaven would of world of Fu continent, the world, continent and dynasty and the world would be continent. Because there was not much time, it would develop slowly. Wouldn't it be easier for them to destroy that world? Moreover, now that City Lord seals had been deactivated, they had a massive advantage. Now it was a matter of their foundation. They had developed for decades, and whether it was in terms of soldiers, generals, equipment, or experience, they could suppress that world. How could a world that had only developed for a few years resist a world that had developed for decades? To everyone, that world was like a juicy piece of meat, and just looking at it made everyone feel incredibly envious. Even though they did not know what had happened and why it had fused into the Heaven Awakened world so early, only an idiot would not eat such a juicy piece of meat. The news quickly spread, and the armies of the various countries in the grassy world quickly gathered here. Everyone wanted to get a piece of meat. Before, the Lontong people had taken this opportunity to conquer many of their cities and territories. Now they were using this to deal with others, making them feel quite delighted. Their luck was quite good. Not only had that world fused into the heaven-awakened world early, but they had also encountered a situation where City Lord seals could not be used. This time, they were determined to steal as much as they could. The slave merchants had long since arrived, as this was evidently a time to strike it rich. They could also rush in and steal people. Perhaps they should not be called people but slaves. They could also buy people from the army at the cheapest price. No one knew what the world inside was like or what races lived in it. Everyone hoped that it was a humanoid race, as the price would be higher. If it was a strange-looking race, the price would be lower. If it was a humanoid race, the good-looking women would become female concubines, the good-looking men would become male concubines, and the rest would become laborers. Some people could not wait any longer and wanted to rush into that world. After all, this was the first pot of gold, and they could directly sell the people they caught to high grade. After all, a new race would definitely be interesting, and people would buy them out of curiosity. Moreover, the world inside had only developed for a few years, and it most likely did not even have many kingdoms. It was pitifully weak, and whoever rushed in first would definitely become rich and obtain the most things. As such, some people could not wait any longer. The grassy factions had gathered roughly 2.6 billion soldiers here, as well as countless generals. They had not mobilized all of their forces yet, as they did not place the inner world in their eyes. With just 2 billion soldiers, they would be able to sweep through the inner world. With the grassy world's decades of development, it would be a joke if they could not sweep through the new world inside. After hearing about this, the half-beast world and elf world felt quite excited and envious of the grassy world. This time, they were going to make a massive profit. However, they felt quite unwilling to just stand here and watch. Soon, they found that some regions were connected to that world, and they felt quite delighted. They started to gather their forces, planning to get a piece of the meat as well. 3 worlds against a new world was like 3 adults bullying a child. It was incredibly shameless and despicable. However, in a world where the strong preyed on the weak, who could they blame? It was their fault for not having enough strength and fusing into the heaven-awakened world so quickly. If they did not invade it, who would they invade? The world inside might not have sensed the danger yet. It would still be arrogant, like a frog at the bottom of a well, not knowing the immensity of heaven and earth. Chapter 1130. It had only been 6 years, and it was obvious what the situation inside was like. As such, many people could not help but come, wanting to eat a piece of meat without expending too much effort. The 3 worlds had gathered 6 billion soldiers, and the surrounding kingdoms heard about this. It was a pity that they were not as lucky as the grassy worlds, or else they would also want to eat a piece of meat. With such a massive force, countless people felt that the world inside was going to suffer a calamity, as it would not be able to defend against the invasion of 3 worlds. For example, if a newbie fought against 3 experienced and powerful experts, the newbie would be pressed to the ground and beaten up. A major figure said, "In 1 month at the earliest and 6 months at the latest, the grassy worlds will destroy the world inside. When that time comes, the 3 worlds will divide the world inside, and their power will quickly grow. This will be a good opportunity for the 3 worlds to rise up." Many people started to sympathize with this world, as it was about to be destroyed by others. All of its races would become slaves, and the men would become slaves while the women would be used as entertainment. Of course, some people were quite excited and hoped that the people inside would be interesting and wanted to capture a few as pets to play with. Some licentious people laughed and said that they could sleep with 10 or so of this world's women, and they were incredibly thirsty. Because the killing sword master had appeared in the elf world, the ancient STEM domain had many spies in the elf world. Because the killing sword master's matter was incredibly important, the various factions in the ancient STEM domain paid much attention to it. By now, news of the three worlds attacking a new world had reached some people's ears. The Tao Cultivation sect master's expression was calm, and after hearing about this, he said, "There's no need to pay too much attention to this." The young woman hesitated before saying, "This world has fused into the Heaven Awakened world so early, and it's so close to the elf world. Could there be some sort of connection? However, this world is in quite a difficult situation, and the Heaven Awakened domain boundary will disappear in a month. I'm afraid it will be destroyed, and I don't know if this matter will be cleared up." The Tao Cultivation sect master felt quite startled before saying, "There shouldn't be any connection. Ever since that killing sword master appeared, he has not appeared again. I'm afraid he has already left. With that person's extraordinary power, he definitely came from the heaven domain. Now that he has obtained the killing sword, he most likely won't come back. Also, this happened in a boundary region, and we're in the inner domains, so we can't interfere too much. However, we can investigate this matter." Over the past few years, there have been many big events in the ancient STEM domain, and a terrifying emperor appeared and powerfully ascended the 10,000 dragon stage. Hearing this, the young woman nodded and turned to carry out the orders. Hearing this, the Bear Mountain Kingdom's king felt quite displeased. There's no need to report such a small matter. This king wants all information related to the killing sword master. However, this world is quite unlucky. Not only did it encounter an age where City Lord seals cannot be used, but it also fused into the Heaven Awakened world so early. It's no surprise that it was destroyed, but it's a pity. If only it was the Bear Mountain Kingdom, it would only take 3 days to destroy it. As one of the largest financial groups in the ancient STEM domain, the 10,000 Dragon Financial Group's intelligence network was naturally outstanding, and they knew what was happening in various regions. They had left spies in the elf world, and were quite concerned about the killing sword master, so they knew about this. However, they did not pay too much mind. Even though it was a battle between worlds, it was happening too far away, and there was nothing to care about. 3 worlds that had been developing for decades fighting against a new world. They didn't even need to think too much to understand the outcome. This was something that had already been decided, and it had nothing to do with them, so they really couldn't care less about it. What the 10,000 Dragon Financial Group cared about the most was that mysterious emperor. He was the person who had made the prophecy, and the 10,000 Dragon Financial Group's relationship with him would only become deeper and deeper. The 10,000 Dragon Financial Group desperately wanted to know more about this mysterious emperor. They were currently doing all they could to find this information, and they had even sent people to the Heaven Domain. They did not care about anything else. The 8 Dragons Essence sect did not care about this at all, and had only heard about it. They were worried about the mysterious emperor that their young sect master had offended. Right now, everything was about cultivation. A world that had developed for decades would definitely be able to crush a world that had developed for a few years. If that person came from the Heaven Domain, with his lofty status and the massive faction behind him, he would also be able to crush the 8 Dragons Essence sect. The seal losing its effect was fatal to them. They were powerless against those with powerful cultivations, and if the Imperial Prince came to find them, the 8 Dragons Essence sect would most likely be finished. After all, as the foundation of the Heaven Domain, it was not something people like them could imagine. The Ice Origin Kingdom did not care too much about this. Even though they were in the ancient STEM domain, they were not in the West, and they were quite far away from the boundary regions. As such, they naturally did not care about something so far away. The Ice Origin Kingdom did not care too much about this matter. Even though they were in the ancient STEM domain, they were not in the West and were quite far away from the boundary regions. As such, they naturally did not care about such a distant matter. They also had Bing Qixue do his best to befriend that mysterious emperor. Right now, everything was about cultivation. If they could obtain the support of an emperor from the heaven domain, their ice origin kingdom would have some confidence. On the other hand, they had Bing Qixue do everything he could to get on good terms with that mysterious emperor. Right now, everything was about cultivation, and if they could obtain the support of an emperor from the heaven domain, their ice origin kingdom would have some confidence. At the same time, they had prepared countless things. Treasures, equipment, medicinal pills, women, pets, anything that Zhao Fu wanted, the ice origin kingdom would immediately prepare. Bing Qixue felt quite helpless and wanted to refuse. He was not the kind of person who would desperately try to curry favor with others for benefits, but befriending that person would bring massive benefits to the ice origin kingdom. Bing Qixue had personally seen that mysterious emperor before, and he had personally experienced his power. That terrifying power made him feel terror. Putting aside power, just the pressure from Zhao Fu's bloodline caused his legs to become weak. Ordinary emperor's bloodlines could not compare to him at all, and in front of that emperor's bloodline, he felt like trash. That mysterious emperor's identity far surpassed anything he could imagine. As such, Bing Qixue could not help but compromise and try to get on good terms with Zhao Fu. However, that mysterious emperor was not someone he could meet whenever he wanted, so he could only send some messages through the 10,000 Dragon Financial Group. They did not know that whether it was the Killing Sword Master or that mysterious emperor, they were both Zhao Fu, and his true identity was Qin's emperor. Chapter 1131. Another 15 days later, the weather suddenly changed, and the heaven and earth fate started to roil. Boom! A shocking explosion sounded out throughout the human world as a massive pillar of light shot into the sky. Countless traces of fate madly gathered, and in the face of such a terrifying aura, everyone looked incredibly excited. After all, if Qin wanted to become a level 1 dukedom kingdom, it would not be something that just a few kingdoms could contend against. It would require a few worlds. 9 dragons' roars sounded out as the Qin royal seal within Zhao Fu's body flew into the sky and turned into 9 massive black dragons that circled in the sky. Countless traces of fate flowed into them, and the entire human world gave off a faint light. Now, all of the human world's fate was fusing with Qin's fate. In the future, the entire world's fate would belong to Qin's fate. Boom! An explosion once again sounded out as the Earth Realm mark on the back of Zhao Fu's hand gave off a brilliant light, causing the heaven and earth source energy to quickly gather towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu felt a massive wave of power enter his body, and his entire body went through changes. The changes were quite comfortable, and his body felt quite warm. Finally, the entire human world gave off a black light, and the human world's fate completely fused with Qin's fate, causing Qin to become a level 1 dukedom kingdom. However, it was a pity that Zhao Fu's bloodline was already of an extremely high grade, and under the influence of the world's source energy, he did not evolve. However, his power had greatly increased, and with his current power, he could fight against those at or above stage 9. Now that the Qin Empire had become a level 1 dukedom kingdom, the next step was to calculate Qin's strength. The first was the population. Qin's population was now 81.2 billion, which was an extremely terrifying number. It was 10 or so times larger than the previous regions. Following this, it had 7.5 billion soldiers. There were 6 billion Stage 1 soldiers, 220 million Stage 2 soldiers, 10 million Stage 3 soldiers, and 420,000 Stage 4 soldiers. This was not counting the soldiers who did not have Stage 1 cultivation. He controlled 47,570 regions, not only including all of the human world's regions but also the Netherwater continent. As for the Night Dynasty and the southern continent of the Dark Demon world, they did not count as Qin's territory. In terms of cities, there was 1 dukedom city, 1 marquisate city, 8 barony cities, 16 capital cities, and 105,028 great cities. This did not include the southern continent's 20,000 cities, 8,521 cities, 14,860 towns, and 165,89489 villages. Because there were 47,570 regions, there were 190,280 counties. In other words, there were 190,280 counties, 19,028 governors, 1902 nobles, 190 marquises, 19 dukedoms, and 1 earl. At the same time, the Qin Corps automatically leveled up and became a dukedom corps. Each corps could hold 10 million soldiers, and they could have a shocking 100 corps. After becoming a dukedom kingdoms would be able to control the power of an entire world. This was not something that a marquisate kingdom could compare to. The massive stat bonuses completely surpassed that of a marquisate kingdom. Now that the Qin royal seal had fused with the world's source energy, it could be counted as a nation armament and was incredibly powerful. Zhao Fu had long since known about the 3 worlds guarding 3 different places and planning to invade the human world. He could not help but coldly laugh. They wanted to invade the human world with just 6 billion soldiers? They wanted to destroy Qin in a month? That was simply wishful thinking. Now, Zhao Fu had enough confidence to face everything, and he felt his blood boil. Qin was destined to become famous throughout the world. In actuality, Zhao Fu wanted to keep a low profile and not attract too much attention, as that would be detrimental to his development. However, they did not give Zhao Fu an opportunity to keep a low profile. There were still 15 days left, and Zhao Fu planned to use these 15 days to make his final preparations. Now Qin had 7.5 billion soldiers, and they had an advantage in terms of numbers against the 6 billion soldiers. However, there was a difference in cultivation, so they could put up a fight. Most of the generals on Qin's side were only at stage 4 or stage 5, while the city lords on the other side were at stage 5 or stage 6, and some were at stage 6 or stage 7. The difference was quite big. The difference in strength of a single stage made Qin's side quite disadvantageous. However, Zhao Fu had prepared a set of talisman equipment for them. This set of talisman equipment included helmets, armor, shoes, bracers, and weapons. There were 5 pieces in total, and they were all legendary grade gold grade equipment. The talisman stones were also at least gold grade. With the powerful buffs from this set of talisman equipment, Qin's general would be able to reduce the difference in cultivation. With Qin's current strength, Zhao Fu felt that he would be able to deal with 3 worlds at the same time. He felt that his worries had been unfounded. Moreover, Qin's final trump card, the Beast Army, had not been used yet. Also, because of the Underworld Royal Seal, there were only 90 million or so ghost soldiers, so they did not have much strength. However, Qin could nurture 100 million devil soldiers. These devils' cultivations were all at stage 1, and when they fought, they were even more ferocious than Great Qin's soldiers. Moreover, some of them had strange abilities, such as invisibility, hallucinations, and frightening abilities. They would be able to deal with 300 million stage 1 soldiers without a problem and would be quite useful. There was also the core. Now, Qin could create 100 or so core. Subtracting the 50 or so from before, Qin would have 50 core, and Zhao Fu would create special core. During the final battle in the human world, Qin had obtained countless cities with special powers, and they could all be used as special vessels. In terms of core, Qin most likely would not lose. Moreover, as dukedom core, their stats were much higher than marquisate core. Moreover, the maximum number of core could hold was 10 million people. 1 core could hold 10 million people, 10 core could hold 100 million people, and 100 core could hold 1 billion people. The only thing that Zhao Fu was worried about was the kings. Even though they could not use royal seals, their cultivations were at least at stage 8 or stage 9, and some had even broken through stage 9 and reached the Saint Realm. Moreover, they could use their nation armament. After these changes, Not only did nation armaments not become weaker, but they instead became more powerful. Moreover, the amount of fate they consumed was also reduced. In this battle, 30 kings from the grassy world had come, 15 from the half-beast world, and 16 from the elf world. It was already incredibly difficult for Zhao Fu to deal with 30 kings from the grassy world by himself. If they allied together, Zhao Fu would most likely lose. After thinking about it, Zhao Fu decided to deal with the kings from the grassy world by himself and leave Tina Pendragon and Yi Tsang behind to help him. Chapter 1132. With Zhao Mo and Elisa's strength, it would not be a problem for them to deal with 4 kings. Gunia and the others could deal with 3, and the remaining 100 people would be tied down by the 100 people in Sword Obsession. Now, the 100 people in Sword Obsession had all gone through the 3rd transformation and were incredibly powerful, making them quite difficult to kill. Even if they were killed, such as having their hearts destroyed or their heads shattered, they could quickly revive. Zhao Fu just wanted them to tie down the other kings. In the final half-beast world, Zhao Fu could only have the 8 aquatic beast kings defend. Even though their strength had been reduced by half, they were still aquatic beast kings that guarded the world and still had monstrous power. Moreover, Zhao Fu had used a large number of medicinal pills to help them recover some of their strength. In the next 15 days, Zhao Fu did everything he could to increase everyone's strength so that they could resist the kings. He also did everything he could to increase the strength of the beast. Zhao Fu was completely at ease about this battle, and he could not wait any longer. He wanted to fight with the people from the 3 worlds and use blood to make Qin's name known to them. Time gradually passed, and soon 15 days had passed. The 3 worlds split into 3 armies and prepared to invade the human world from 3 directions. The grassy world was in the middle and had the largest area of attack, while the half-beast world and elf world were on either side. The heavens and earth started to change as a massive aura spread out in all directions, and cracks started to appear on the massive rainbow-colored barrier. The 3 world kings stood in the sky with confident smiles on their faces. They had been waiting for this day for a long time, and now, they could finally eat the juicy meat in front of them. Right now, they just wanted to have a good meal. No matter what race they were, they would be conquered by force. No matter if they were nobles or commoners, they would all kneel before them and tremble in fear as they looked up at their masters. It was as if they were announcing that this world was their private property and a piece of cake waiting to be eaten. They would make the human world fall into terror and show them who was king. It was not just the kings who felt excited, the soldiers were the same. This was a battle to invade a world, and there were massive benefits. Moreover, there was a massive difference in battle power, so they would sweep through the world like lightning. Then, they would rob everything. As long as they killed their way in, treasures, women, and equipment would all be there for them to take. Some slave merchants were leisurely drinking tea in the back, not paying any attention to the world inside at all. The result had already been decided, and they only needed to wait for a large number of slaves. Crack, 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 loud sounds rang out as more and more cracks appeared on the 7-colored barrier. Everyone's hearts were in their throats. Boom! A rumbling sound rang out, and the top of the 7-colored barrier shattered, turning into countless 7-colored specks of light that floated down bit by bit. Then, the lower layer also shattered, and the world inside slowly appeared in front of everyone. Kill! The people from the 3 worlds could not wait any longer and roared as they exploded out with heaven-shaking auras. They were like 3 unstoppable tides as they ferociously flooded towards the human world. They wanted to conquer this world, and no one could stop them. Boom, boom, boom! In that instant, the air seemed to explode, and the soldiers at the front felt their hairs stand on end. They saw powerful white rays of light shooting towards them with shocking auras. Not good. Hurry and defend. The countless soldiers sensed the danger and hurriedly raised their shields to defend, but it was too late. These were Qin's talisman arrows. Chi, 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 the rays of light gave off terrifying power as they shot down incredibly quickly. As they passed, countless soldiers' bodies were easily cut into countless pieces by the white light as if they were made of paper. Blood flew everywhere, and the ground was covered with corpses as a nauseating smell of blood spread out. The shocking tides formed by the three armies paused, and countless people looked incredibly shocked as they stared ahead. The seven-colored barrier in front of them slowly turned into motes of light and dissipated, revealing the world inside to everyone. What appeared before them was a tall and sturdy city wall, and the soldiers on it were all dressed in black armor. They gave off boundless auras, and they were not any weaker than them. How was this possible? Were the other side already waiting for them? Moreover, they were all dressed in black armor and had gathered their auras together. The tall black flag of the mystic bird indicated that this was a faction, but how could a faction have so many soldiers? What's more, these soldiers were not any weaker than them. Boom, 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 before everyone could think clearly, rays of white light shot out from the city wall, giving off ferocious auras as they continued to fly over. With the lesson from last time, the three armies were now prepared. The soldiers walked up and raised their shields, giving off powerful auras as semicircular barriers spread out, forming a massive energy barrier. Boom, 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 the rays of white light gave off immense power as they heavily slammed against the shield wall, causing the energy barrier to violently tremble. All of the soldiers' expressions were serious as they used all of their strength to defend, but they were barely able to block. This caused the expressions of the countless kings to fall, and they gave the order to stop attacking. If the other side sent another wave of attacks, they would not be able to defend. Everything was completely different from what they had expected. The other side was definitely waiting for them to attack, and they were not weak at all. In terms of aura and numbers, the other side was definitely not weaker than them, and they were now at a disadvantage. What shocked them the most was that the other side was not a pile of loose sand, and they did not see many factions working together. There was only one faction. Suddenly, everyone thought of a shocking possibility as to why the other side had fused into the Heaven-Awakened world so early. There was only one answer, which was that the other side was a dukedom kingdom. They were attacking a dukedom kingdom, and countless people's expressions became serious. This was completely out of their expectations, and they found it difficult to say anything. The other side had unified the world so quickly. This was something that they had never seen or heard of before. Boom, 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 explosions sounded out as powerful auras exploded out, sweeping out like wild gales. Figures appeared in the sky, and they were all dressed in armor. The young man at the front was wearing a black robe with golden dragon embroidered on it, and he gave off a noble and dignified aura and was incredibly handsome. His identity was undoubtedly the king of this dukedom kingdom, as well as the owner of this world. Chapter 1133. This was the main battlefield. The grassy world was facing off against Qin, and the situation on the other two sides was the same. The grassy world's expressions were quite unsightly. They had thought that it would be a bug that they could casually crush, but it seemed that it had stepped on a steel hammer. They had been too careless in the first wave of attacks, and roughly 100 million soldiers had died. What should they do now? Should they continue to attack? Or should they retreat? If they continued to attack, it was possible that they would not win, and even if they won, they would suffer great losses. They had been careless. They had been completely careless this time. They had never thought that the other side would be a dukedom kingdom. They had not prepared to attack a dukedom kingdom at all, and they had not sent out all of their forces. Facing such a powerful faction like Qin, they could not help but retreat. Facing the grassy world's retreat, Zhao Fu wildly laughed before looking at the grassy people and saying, "You want to destroy the human world in a month? You want the human world to become your slaves? Today, we will use your blood to prove Qin Qin's name. Attack! Zhao Fu drew the Death Disaster sword and gave off a massive aura as he fearlessly turned into a ray of light and shot towards the countless kings. The other Qin generals obeyed Zhao Fu's orders and also turned into rays of light as they shot towards the city lords. Roar, roar, roar! Massive dragon roars sounded out as massive figures covered the sky. Everyone looked up and saw countless 100-meter-long wyverns appearing in the sky, giving off powerful might. Roar, roar, roar. Roars shook the heavens as 40,000 100-meter-tall giants appeared. They were all dressed in heavy armor and held heavy shields and heavy swords. Their eyes were blood-red and were filled with savagery and savagery. Their bodies gave off an aura of suppression, and they did not feel any fear in front of billions of enemies. Roar, roar, roar! Massive wolf howls sounded out as massive wolves leapt out. They were nearly 100 meters long and gave off ferocious auras. Their eyes were filled with savagery as they looked at the countless grassy people. Clang, clang, clang! The sound of the ground being torn could be heard as 100-meter-long black spiders quickly appeared, giving off ferocious auras and causing people's hairs to stand on end. The city gates had long since been opened, and countless Qin cavalrymen gripped the reins in one hand and spears in the other. Their gazes were resolute as they gave off a sharp aura. Following this, countless soldiers also descended. Under Zhao Fu's orders, everyone started to charge. The massive beasts charged at the front, followed by great Qin's cavalrymen and infantrymen. Their aura shook the heavens and the earth, and it was as if they could kill gods and Buddhas. No one could stop them. The countless grassy people trembled under this aura. They had never thought that there would be so many terrifying beasts on the other side, and they all felt a sense of terror. In the sky, Zhao Fu was already fighting with the kings. As the ruler of the Night Dynasty, which controlled an entire continent, he could defend against 5 or 6 ordinary kings. Tina Pendragon had once been the ruler of a Marquiate kingdom, and her sword was quite special. It was a nation armament and a clan armament, and it could be used as an ordinary weapon. It could provide massive power, and Zhao Fu had not destroyed her royal seal, allowing her to unleash massive power. Adding on the various legacies she had obtained, she would be able to defend against 3 or 4 kings with no problem. As for the remaining kings, Zhao Fu would personally deal with them. Xing! Zhao Fu's sword gave off a massive sword light as he shot towards the kings. Facing Zhao Fu's arrogant attack, the kings felt quite furious and took out their weapons to meet him, and a massive battle immediately unfolded. The battle between the generals was abnormally ferocious, and they continuously clashed in the sky, sending out terrifying shock waves that blasted out like wild gales, making it so that no one dared to get close. Whether it was a battle between kings or a battle between generals, their strength was about the same, and Qin's side was slightly weaker. However, in terms of military strength, Qin completely suppressed the other side. Seeing that Qin had returned, the grassy army created 70 or so massive creatures that gave off terrifying power as they rushed towards Qin's side. Qin's army did not show any weakness and also created massive creatures that gave off shocking power as they rushed towards the grassy people. The two sides started to ferociously clash, creating a massive disaster. Even though Qin's side did not have many people, they were all incredibly powerful, and not a single one of them was weak. Finally, the beast army started to crush down. Countless wyverns swooped down and spat out large amounts of flames. The flames were so hot that they could melt the ground into lava, and the cold air that they spat out could freeze the ground thousands of meters away. Giants holding heavy shields gave off ferocious power as they charged over like war chariots, sending countless soldiers flying like sand and pebbles. Countless spiders rushed towards them like a torrent, and their blade-like legs easily cut open the people's bodies. Blood and flesh flew everywhere, and after the countless spiders rushed over, they left behind a pile of disfigured corpses. The giant wolves charged forwards, sending the soldiers flying. They opened their massive mouths and bit down. Who knew how many people would be bitten to death? Kill! Qin's soldiers followed closely behind. With the terrifying beast army leading the way, they did not face any difficulties at all, and they flooded towards the soldiers. Spears pierced through the soldiers' chests, and they dragged their corpses as they continued to kill. The soldiers at the back also caught up and killed the soldiers who had been lucky enough to survive. The grassy army was unable to resist at all, and they were almost completely swept away by Qin's side. Some people started to run in terror. In the battlefield in the sky, both sides had exploded out with the power of their nation armament. In a battle of this level, it was impossible to not use nation armament. Zhao Fu put away the death disaster sword and held the 2-meter-long, 2-finger-thick nation-suppressing pillar as he gave off a heaven-shaking aura as he rushed towards the kings. Bang! Zhao Fu gave off a shocking aura as he gripped the nation-suppressing pillar with both hands and vigorously slammed it down, sending a king's nation armament flying. The king's body exploded and turned into countless shredded corpses. The other kings' expressions became savage, and their 10 or so nation armaments gave off destructive power as they blasted towards Zhao Fu. However, Zhao Fu wildly laughed, and even more nation armaments appeared around him, forming a massive protective barrier that blocked these attacks. The countless kings' expressions were quite unsightly, and seeing this scene, they could only give the order to retreat. It was not just the grassy army. The situation on the other two sides was the same. However, it was not as intense as on Zhao Fu's side, and not many kings had died. Chapter 1134. What? 3 worlds have been defeated, and yet they can't even defeat a new world? Countless people looked incredibly shocked and could not believe this news, as it was simply too unbelievable. If it had been one world that had failed, it would have been understandable. However, 3 worlds had simultaneously invaded, yet they had still suffered a crushing defeat. No one had expected this at all. Back then, everyone had thought that the 3 worlds had been too careless and weak, which was why they had given the other world a chance. However, after hearing all of the news, massive waves crashed in their hearts. The other world was a dukedom kingdom. In just 6 short years, they had unified the 3 worlds? What kind of existence was that? How could they have such strength and power? That dukedom kingdom's military did not lose out to the 3 worlds, and it had extremely powerful beasts that could sweep through everything. It was not that the 3 worlds were too weak, but that the other world was simply too powerful, and the 3 worlds were not a match for it. Moreover, the other world's king was also monstrous. Despite having lower cultivation than the other kings, he had been able to kill 11 kings, shocking everyone. The 3 worlds had lost 17 kings in total, and this was the first time so many kings had died at the same time in the past 100 years. They had also suffered heavy losses, and from the original 6 billion soldiers, only 1.5 billion remained. This new world's power was simply too terrifying. How could it be so powerful? Those who had thought that they understood everything and thought that the outcome of this battle was already decided all felt quite unsightly, as things were completely different from what they had expected. This news spread incredibly quickly, and after the 3 worlds that had attacked heard about this, their expressions fell. Following this, the surrounding worlds also found out just how powerful this new world was. Countless people were incredibly shocked by this new world's appearance, and they could not even say anything. This was completely out of everyone's expectations. Even the most powerful faction in the surroundings, the Devil Horn Empire, took this matter seriously, as they felt an intense sense of danger. They understood that their most powerful competitor had appeared, and out of the surrounding 10 or so worlds, only Qin could give them such a feeling. After hearing about this, the Tao Cultivation sect master lightly laughed and felt quite surprised. He did not care too much about this, but the other world's performance was quite shocking, making him feel quite interested. The Bear Mountain Kingdom's king's gaze became serious. This world was quite unexpected, and even he had underestimated it. However, this new world's power was equivalent to 1/10 of his Bear Mountain Kingdom's power, so it was worth paying attention to. The people from the 8 Dragons Essence sect were also very shocked. They had never thought that the new world, which should have been bullied everywhere, would appear so powerfully. The Ice Origin Kingdom stopped looking down on Zhao Fu, because it felt as if a new star was about to rise and illuminate the world. Its name would spread far and wide, and everyone would know its name. However, this was not the end, as they received even more shocking news. The new world had started to counterattack the other 3 worlds. Had the world gone mad? With the power of a new world, they were going to attack worlds that had developed for decades. What's more, they were simultaneously attacking 3 worlds. Just thinking about it made everyone's hearts palpitate. Boom! Zhao Fu gave off a massive aura as he turned into a ray of light and shot towards the grassy world. Countless generals followed behind him, and the ferocious army gave off an aura that seemed to be able to sweep through everything as they advanced. Countless people in the grassy world felt incredibly terrified, and countless kingdoms hurriedly sent people to defend. Back then, the grassy people had been prepared and had built defensive walls. Later on, no one thought that they would be used, but now they were being used to save their lives. The grassy world had 6 continents, and the one that was connected to the human world was called the Evergreen Continent. It had 7,000 or so regions. We have to stop them outside the grassy world, or else they'll be doomed if they charge in. This was the goal of countless factions in the Evergreen Continent, and they all swarmed towards the defensive walls. The world that had developed for decades was not for nothing. Not only were the soldiers at Stage 1, but countless residents were also at Stage 1. The large amount of power that they had lost was quickly replenished. Qin could not do such a thing. Indeed, the Qin world's foundation was quite weak and could not compare to the world that had developed for decades. However, as long as Qin was strong enough, he could fight 10 people by himself. So what if there were more people? If there were 100 million people, he would kill 100 million people. If there were 1 billion people, he would kill 1 billion people. If there were 10 billion people, he would slaughter 10 billion people. Kill! Zhao Fu gave off a terrifying aura as he charged towards the other side, followed by countless powerful generals. Below, the ferocious tide gave off a heaven-shaking aura as they fearlessly charged forwards. By now, the other side did not have many kings, but they had many times more people with high cultivations than Qin. This was a problem of a foundation, and it could not be made up for in a short period of time. Moreover, the people from the other continents were also quickly rushing over. Countless nation armaments floated around Zhao Fu, and their terrifying power was something that even the heavens and earth could not withstand. Zhao Fu did not have any qualms as he charged towards the group of people with high cultivations. Facing Zhao Fu, who was charging at them, the people with higher cultivations looked quite serious and did not dare to be careless. They sent out 10,000 people with higher cultivations to surround and kill Zhao Fu, while the others faced Great Qin's generals. Zhao Fu's generals were extremely powerful. The battle between the two sides instantly erupted. Zhao Fu wildly laughed as he had Qin's nation armament, the 12 metal colossi bronze swords, appear. 12 bronze swords that were 3 meters long and gave off an azure light appeared, and they gave off massive killing auras as they fanned out behind Zhao Fu. Dragging the 12 bronze swords, Zhao Fu left behind 12 azure sword gashes as he instantly passed through the incoming crowd. Chi! 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 It was as if a shocking sword light had pierced through the air, and countless people's bodies were shredded by the sword light. Countless corpses fell to the ground, and a rain of corpses descended from the sky. The kings present were greatly startled, and they quickly released the full power of their nation armaments to suppress Zhao Fu with the other people with high cultivations. The battle between the generals and the surroundings was incredibly intense, and terrifying shock waves sounded out in the sky. Cold light shot out everywhere, causing the heavens and earth to dim, and there were deaths on both sides. The flood-like army gave off an aura that seemed to be able to destroy everything as they rushed towards the defensive wall, as if they could destroy it. Boom! 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 A green light suddenly exploded out from the defensive wall as terrifying auras exploded out. Green spears containing immense power shot out as fast as light towards the beasts at the front. Roar! 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 Pained cries sounded out as the green spear's power was incredibly terrifying. They instantly pierced through the beasts' armor and pierced into their bodies. Many beasts were injured and hundreds of beasts died. Chapter 11:35. Boom! 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 Rays of white light shot through the sky, bringing with them incredibly sharp arrows as they covered the city walls and then descended like a torrential rain. The grassy people's bodies were instantly torn apart, causing blood to fly everywhere. Pitiful cries sounded out as the arrows tore through their bodies and hit the city walls, creating large craters. The battle here was incredibly intense, and it was the same for the other two sides. The half-beast side did not have anything to defend against the human world's invasion. They had never thought that the human world would invade them, they were simply too daring. The half-beast world had 5 continents, and the one closest to the human world was the Moonwolf continent. Countless factions hurried over, wanting to defend against the invading Qin's soldiers. Their strength was about the same as the grassy people's. Even though they had lost many people, they did not lack Stage 1 people. They could recruit ordinary residents as soldiers, and most of them were at Stage 1. At the same time, they also had many people with high cultivation. Because there were no defensive city walls, the two sides directly fought. Roar! 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 The 8 aquatic beast kings flew in the sky and gave off heaven-shaking roars as they ferociously rushed to the front. Their 10,000-meter-long bodies covered the sky and gave off a mountain-like might that seemed to be able to destroy everything. Behind them was an army of beasts that gave off massive roars that sounded out in all directions. Powerful auras exploded out as they followed behind the 8 aquatic beast kings, wanting to destroy everything. Kill! The final Qin cavalrymen rode on black horses and held spears as they quickly galloped on the ground. They had fanatical expressions as they loudly roared and gave off berserk auras. They wanted to conquer the world for their emperor. The half-beast army's expressions were quite serious, but they did not fear anything. After all, behind them was their world, a place that they had to protect. Kill! The half-beast side also exploded out with ferocious auras. Their eyes were filled with savagery as they roared and charged at Qin's soldiers. At the front were countless wolf cavalrymen riding massive wolves and holding large sabers, and behind them were countless infantrymen. They flooded out like a tsunami, giving off heaven-shaking auras. The experts in the sky also exploded out with terrifying power as they rushed at Qin's soldiers. Boom! The 2 apocalyptic tides gave off an unstoppable aura as they clashed together, resulting in a shocking explosion. Killing intent soared into the clouds. Bang bang bang! The 8 aquatic beasts gave off terrifying auras as they madly charged at the countless experts. The pressure from their 10,000-meter-long bodies could cause the ground to collapse, and experts were sent flying like rocks. Countless devils and Qin generals gave off terrifying auras as they charged at the half-beast world's experts, and terrifying shockwaves exploded in the sky. Ao, 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 the wyverns on the ground were the first to attack, and they ferociously spat out flames and icy blasts. The corpse soul soldiers gave up on their heavy shields and instead wielded massive swords that were dozens of meters long. When they swung, they gave off terrifying destructive power. The spiders' bodies gave off countless traces of black light, and a chilling intent spread out. The countless spiders flooded forwards, and the giant wolves gave off ferocious auras as they charged. The half-beast army on the ground was once again crushed, and the massive tide was ferociously slammed into by the Qin army, causing it to collapse. Half-beast people were burned or frozen to death, and grassy people were cut in half by the massive sword wind. Some were cut in half by the countless sabers, while others had their bodies torn apart. The scene was incredibly bloody and nauseating. After suffering the first wave of attacks, the half-beast army started to collapse, while the countless ferocious Qin cavalrymen shot out like spears, giving the half-beast army a second wave of attacks. The half-beast army was torn apart, and the remaining Qin soldiers flooded forwards and devoured the half-beast army. The battle in the elf world was just as intense, and there were many kings left. However, they were completely suppressed, and some of the kings were dealt with by Gunia, Zhao Emo, and the others, while the rest were dealt with by those in sword obsession. The 100 kings in sword obsession had blood-red eyes and were filled with killing intent. They gripped blood-red swords and slashed out terrifying sword lights that tore apart the sky, causing sword chi to fill the sky. Facing such terrifying attacks, the kings did not dare to be careless, and they continuously defended while attacking. However, when they finally managed to hit the kings in sword obsession, their bodies would immediately recover, making the kings feel incredibly furious. The battle below was also incredibly intense. Zhao Fu had no idea what method the elves had used, but they had summoned a wall of trees, which was a wall made of large trees, in order to defend against Great Qin's attack. However, in front of the Qin beasts, it was not very effective. The wyverns spewed out flames and started to burn the tree wall, while the corpse soul soldiers gripped their massive swords with both hands and vigorously slashed out, cutting apart the tree wall. The spiders could directly climb up the trees, and the giant wolves relied on their leaping abilities to easily leap over the tree wall. The other Qin soldiers also charged in and started to fight with the elves. Back at the main battlefield, Zhao Fu did not feel any fear facing the attacks of over 10,000 people and a few kings. His dozens of nation armaments surrounded him, giving off light and forming a powerful defensive barrier. No matter how many people attacked, they were unable to break through it at all. This caused everyone to feel incredibly shocked. Just what kind of existence was this king in front of them to be able to use so many nation armaments? An entire world's fate was added to so many nation armaments. This was simply too terrifying. Ha ha ha, continue to show we your power. With such weak power, you want to destroy our Qin soldiers? You're all a bunch of scoundrels. Zhao Fu wildly laughed, causing the grassy experts to feel furious, and they madly attacked Zhao Fu. Boom! Zhao Fu did not waste any time and raised his hand, causing the nation armaments around him to turn into rays of light and shoot into the sky, giving off brilliant lights like countless stars. Today, we will show you Qin soldiers' true power. As Zhao Fu's slightly arrogant voice sounded out, a world-destroying aura spread out, causing everyone present to feel quite startled. Their bodies trembled as they felt a wave of terror. Boom! 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 The nation armaments gave off terrifying power as they descended like meteors. The immense destructive power caused the surrounding people's bodies to explode into bloody mists, and thousands of people instantly died. Chapter 1136. Now they could only run. No matter if it was the experts in the sky or the soldiers on the ground, they had all suffered heavy losses. If this went on, everyone would die here, and their defeat was sealed. Ha ha ha! Zhao Fu looked at the fleeing grassy people and loudly laughed before saying, "Now that the grassy people have fallen, who is willing to follow us to slaughter our way into the grassy world and show them my Qin's power? Let them feel the fear of Qin and let my name shake the world. We are willing to follow your majesty to conquer the grassy world." Countless soldiers looked at the godlike Zhao Fu in the sky with fervent gazes and loudly replied. Their voices shook the surroundings and their auras tore through the clouds. Roar! 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 The countless beasts could not speak, but they excitedly roared as they followed Zhao Fu to slaughter his way into the grassy world. Zhao Fu turned and looked at the grassy world in front of him. He raised the death disaster sword and heavily slashed it down. Kill! Hearing this order, countless people's blood boiled, and they gave off massive roars as they exploded out with powerful auras and rushed towards the grassy world. They were going to conquer the grassy world. The grassy world's defenses had been breached, and Qin had officially started to invade the grassy world. Now, countless people in the grassy world started to panic. They had never thought that things would turn out like this. They had been the ones invading, and they had thought that they would not be able to resist. However, they were now being invaded, and their defenses had already been breached. A terrifying aura covered the continent as the flames of war spread out. Countless people hurriedly ran for their lives, and it was evident that the continent was going to fall. The other continents quickly gathered their forces, wanting to stop Qin's invincible army. Boom! 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 The earth-water dragon tortoise condensed thousands of water orbs that gave off terrifying power and blasted towards the countless half-beast experts. Swish! 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 The reef lizard roared towards the sky, and the countless rhombus-shaped rocks on its body gave off immense destructive power as they flew towards the countless half-beast experts, causing them to feel terror. Bang! 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 The three soul great snake's three massive heads shot out three terrifying rays of black light that swept towards the half-beast experts, causing explosions to sound out. Hoo hoo hoo! The heaven cloud jellyfish flew through the sky towards the half-beast powerhouses. The tens of thousands of tentacles below it were like tens of thousands of blades that slashed at the half-beast powerhouses. Countless half-beast experts were slaughtered by the 8 aquatic beast kings. Blood and flesh splattered everywhere, creating a bloody and cruel scene. The 8 aquatic beast kings frantically attacked the half-beast experts. This time, Zhao Fu had promised that anyone they killed or captured would belong to the 8 of them. As such, they naturally had to go all out. Now, the half-beast expert's corpse belonged to them, and it was a great tonic. Moreover, after killing the half-beast expert, they would be able to invade the half-beast world and devour city hearts and city lord seals. Even though the city lord seals had lost their effects, the 8 aquatic beast kings still provided massive benefit. Because the pressure on the half-beast world was quite great, Zhao Fu specially rewarded the 8 of them. The 8 aquatic beast kings were incredibly excited and filled with battle intent. Apart from the 8 aquatic beast kings, the other devils also used strange methods to kill the half-beast expert. Shutendaji loudly laughed as he tore a person's body in half. Mamajigiri slashed out with her demon saber, slashing apart a few people's bodies, and Tamamonome took out a person's heart and elegantly ate a few bites. On the ground, the half-beast army had already been completely destroyed by the first wave of attacks, and Qin's army swept through everything in its path. The monsters hunted down the escaping half-werewolves in a frenzy. Their full potential was revealed. For example, the Black Bull Devil from before had savagely charged at 8 or 9 people, crippling them. There were also some devils that gave pleasant laughter, bewitching the half-beasts running in front of them. There were also some devils that burrowed into the ground and jumped out to devour people. The half-beast world had been defeated, and the 8 aquatic beast kings gave off domineering roars as they led countless beasts to officially invade the half-beast world. The countless half-beast people started to panic. They had wanted to get a piece of meat, but they had brought disaster upon themselves, making them feel incredibly regretful. If they had known this would happen, they would not have invaded the human world, and they would not have been invaded by the other side. However, now that the other side had invaded and they had offended this terrifying monster, there was no turning back. The flames of war erupted everywhere, and the half-beast people of this continent desperately ran to other continents. Their continents no longer had any strength to resist, so they could only run. Otherwise, if they fell into the other side's hands, their fates would not be good. The remaining continents in the half-beast world hurriedly sent soldiers over, wanting to stop Qin's attack. Otherwise, the other side might really destroy the half-beast world. Finally, on the elf world side, Zhao Imo turned into a 100-meter-tall demon and attacked a few kings with all of his strength. Both sides had already used their armaments, but the other side's kings still coughed up blood. Elise gave a cruel smile and used her spider's silk to slowly cut off the flesh of the kings as she unhurriedly dodged and attacked. Gunia held a sharp sword and continuously attacked. His sword aura was incredibly sharp, and facing two kings, he did not seem to be at a disadvantage at all. Bang! Over at the sword obsession side, a king held a spear and stabbed out with boundless power, piercing a bowl-sized hole in the chest of a sword obsession king. However, the king did not feel any joy at such a fatal wound. This was because the other monster did not feel any pain at all. Its blood-red eyes coldly looked at it, and its aura did not weaken at all. Shing! A clear sword hum sounded out as the sword obsession king, who had a large hole in his chest, once again attacked. The fatal wound did not seem to affect him at all, and the hole in his chest quickly healed. The 100 sword obsession kings tightly locked down the 10 or so kings, and if the other side became careless, they would be able to kill 1 or 2. As third transformation sword obsession kings, they were quite powerful and could use a small portion of the Emperor-killing sword world's power. The battle was incredibly intense, and there was a layer of corpses on the ground. Their expressions were filled with terror, pain, and unwillingness, and there was blood everywhere. The aura of death that gathered could cause anyone's heart to feel a chill. Most of the corpses were elf corpses, and seeing such heavy losses, the elf king could only give the order to retreat. As soon as they retreated, Qin chased after them and started to invade the elf world. This caused the entire elf world to feel quite panicked, and they felt just as much regret as the half-beast world. Why had they offended such a terrifying existence? Now, before they could invade, they had been invaded instead. Not only had the 3 worlds suffered a crushing defeat, but they had also been invaded by the other side. This news spread like wildfire, causing the surrounding kingdoms to panic. This world's strength was simply off the charts, and they now knew the name of this faction. Its name was the Qin Empire. Chapter 1137. Now, Qin's name had spread throughout the surrounding worlds and even further, making everyone feel quite shocked. The Tao-cultivating sect master could not help but laugh. He had underestimated this faction's abilities and said, "Keep an eye on the Qin Empire. Perhaps something interesting will happen in the future." The young woman nodded and felt that the Qin Empire was not ordinary at all. It had the strength of a new world, and had been able to invade 3 worlds. Its potential was limitless, and it might even become a new royal kingdom. The Bear Mountain Kingdom's king looked quite surprised. The Qin Empire was not ordinary at all and had such strength. Back when the Bear Mountain world had fused into the Heaven Awakened world, it did not have such strength. The Bear Mountain Kingdom's king had to keep an eye on the Qin Empire. Perhaps the Qin Empire would cause something that would shake the entire ancient stem domain. Its potential was not just limited to this, and the Bear Mountain Kingdom's king suddenly had a feeling. In actuality, his intuition was not wrong. The Qin Empire would not only shake the ancient stem domain in the future but also before. The killing sword master they were looking for was the Qin Empire's king. The 8 Dragons Essence sect was quite shocked by the Qin Empire's powerful rise. The Qin Empire? Why did this name give off a trace of killing and conquering aura? It seemed that it was not simple at all and was worth keeping an eye on. The sect master immediately gave the order for people to gather information, wanting to find out just what kind of empire the Qin Empire was. The Ice Origin Kingdom was also thinking the same thing and was quite interested in the Qin Empire. It was the first time they had seen a new world invade three worlds, and its development speed was quite shocking. Perhaps in a few decades, a new and powerful empire would rise up, and the ancient stem domain might have a 21st royal kingdom. The top-tier factions in the inner regions of the ancient stem domain were all quite interested in the Qin Empire, and they sent people over to ask about the Qin Empire. It could be said that as soon as the Qin Empire had revealed itself, it had immediately drawn the attention of the entire ancient stem domain. This was incredibly rare, and not many people could do such a thing. Even the nearby Devil Horn Empire could not do such a thing. However, now that the Qin Empire appeared, the most terrible existence could only be the Qin Empire, and the most terrifying one around was only the Qin Empire. Zhao Fu did not know about these things at the moment. At this moment, he was leading the army to charge forward, killing anyone who obstructed him without mercy. Boom! Qin's army wreaked havoc on the grassy land like a flood. Their momentum was earth-shattering, sweeping through everything. On that continent, there was no longer anyone or anything that could stop Qin's advance. Boom! The 8 aquatic beast kings led Qin's army into the half-beast world, giving off a ferocious and ruthless aura. Their terrifying aura covered the entire continent, causing all creatures to fall into terror. No one could resist anymore. Boom! On the elf world side, Zhao Imo and his army also started to wreak havoc in the elf continent, taking down region after region. In just a short while, they had conquered half of the elf continent, and no one could stop them at all. The three armies wantonly fought in the three worlds, drowning everything like a monstrous flood. They entered an unstoppable state, killing gods and Buddhas, and no one could resist them. Faced with such a terrifying offensive situation, the surrounding countries held an emergency meeting. What should we do? That Qin's emperor is too terrifying, and he's about to conquer 3 continents. Should we act? That's right. Should we act? If this goes on, perhaps all 3 worlds will be conquered by the Qin Empire. If the Qin Empire takes over 4 worlds, who will be able to stop them? However, this is a grievance between them, so it's not good for us to act. I'm afraid that we'll bring disaster upon ourselves. It was those 3 worlds that wanted to invade the Qin Empire, and now that they're being beaten up, they deserve it. Even though that's the case, the Qin Empire is about to destroy those 3 worlds, and their strength will become too terrifying. When that time comes, our safety will be put to the test. Do you think that the Qin Empire will not invade us? AI. The Qin Empire's strength is simply too great. Back then, I envied the 3 worlds for being so lucky to have such a big piece of meat right in front of them. Now I'm glad that I'm not near them. That's right. It only took them 6 or so years to unify a world. No wonder they entered the Heaven Awakened world so early. If they were given a few more years to develop, how terrifying would they be? Let's not talk about that for now. We should make a decision. The Qin Empire has most likely conquered 3 continents by now, and if we don't hurry, it'll be too late. Hearing this, everyone continued to discuss. In the end, for their own safety, they decided to slightly interfere in this matter. They could not allow the Qin Empire to continue developing so recklessly, so they gathered their forces and prepared to head to the 3 worlds. On the other side, the Qin Empire had indeed swept through the 3 continents, but it had encountered some resistance. The remaining continents' factions swarmed over, and their military force was 3 times that of the Qin Empire's. There were soldiers from before as well as some militia. It could be seen just how determined the 3 worlds were. They vowed to stop the Qin Empire and stop its momentum, or else the 3 worlds might really be destroyed by Qin Empire. Zhao Fu stood in the air, his expression not changing at all. Behind him were countless Qin Empire's generals, while facing the grassy world's kings and experts. On the ground, the two armies faced off against each other, their auras clashing, causing the surroundings to fall into a deathly silence. No one could not feel fear in the face of these auras, as this was a battle between worlds. Zhao Fu was not in a hurry to attack, as the other side was already quite powerful. They had come prepared, and Zhao Fu was not completely confident. A young man with long hair and a feminine look walked out. His aura was the most powerful, and he was most likely the grassy world's most powerful king. He walked out and looked at Zhao Fu as he said with a trace of coldness and arrogance, "You're the Qin Empire's imperial prince?" Zhao Fu gave a cold smile and waved his hand, causing the 12 gold colossi beside him to tremble. A boundless formless power gave off an unstoppable aura as it shot towards the young man. Sensing this power, the young man's expression fell, and a dark green energy barrier appeared around him. Boom! The enormous power struck the defensive barrier, causing a loud explosion. Countless cracks appeared on the dark green energy barrier, and the feminine young man immediately retreated a few steps. I don't like your tone." Chapter 1138. The surrounding grassy people looked at Zhao Fu with a trace of anger. This imperial Prince Qin was simply too arrogant and domineering. However, that imperial prince was incredibly powerful. Their world's strongest king was the most powerful person in the grassy world and had once been the world protector. However, in front of this imperial Prince Qin, he was evidently weaker and was not a match for Qin's imperial prince. Right now, they could only stare at Zhao Fu. Not only did Zhao Fu not dare to act, but they also did not dare to act. All of the grassy world's forces were gathered here, and if they lost them, the grassy world would not have any soldiers to use, meaning that the grassy world would not be able to resist at all. In this world, it was not just them. There were also countless vicious wolves waiting for an opportunity to act. In the end, even if they defeated Qin, they would not be able to defend against the invasion of the surrounding worlds and would still be destroyed. They were clear about this, so they could only endure Zhao Fu's arrogance and domineeringness. The feminine-looking young man coldly looked at Zhao Fu and said angrily, "Imperial Prince Qin, don't go too far. Do you think that the Qin Empire will be able to win 100%? We have 3 worlds on our side, and your Qin Empire has most likely encountered great resistance in the other 2 worlds." What he said was not wrong. Qin's attacks in the elf world and half-beast world had stopped, and the situation was the same. The remaining continents did their best to stop Qin Empire's attacks, but they did not dare to rashly start a final battle. Zhao Fu coldly harumphed, "So what? Do you think that Qin Empire is afraid of you?" This domineeringness caused everyone to feel furious, but they did not dare to act, and they could only furiously glare at Zhao Fu. The situation fell into a stalemate, but soon, both sides received news that another world had intervened, causing their expressions to become somewhat serious. By now, Qin Empire and the 3 worlds were in a stalemate because none of them had the confidence to defeat the other side. Moreover, this battle would determine the life and death of both sides, and if others intervened, it would be disadvantageous to both sides. What he was most afraid of was that they would fight to the death here, while others would sit on the sidelines and reap the benefits. Soon after, people from the other worlds arrived. When the people from other worlds arrived, they stared at the black-robed and handsome Zhao Fu. This was the first time they had seen Zhao Fu in person, and they had heard how terrifying he was. Now that he came over to take a look, just based on his noble and domineering aura, he was not someone ordinary people could compare to. A white-haired old man with a kind smile walked over and cupped his hands. "Everyone, both sides have lost countless people in the war. Those are your people. If there are any conflicts, why don't we sit down and talk about it? We have a few worlds that can act as mediators." The people of the grassy world all turned to look at Zhao Fu. Right now, they were waiting to see what decision Zhao Fu would make. This stalemate would not continue. Zhao Fu was currently thinking. With Qin Empire's current strength, it was indeed quite difficult for it to devour 3 worlds at the same time. After 2 battles, Qin Empire had suffered many losses. Moreover, Qin Empire had sent out all of its forces and did not have many soldiers left behind. If Qin Empire was defeated, Qin Empire would not be able to retaliate at all and would not be able to face the invasion of Otherworld. Mediation was undoubtedly the best solution, so Zhao Fu nodded and agreed, causing everyone around him to let out a sigh of relief. After a while, in the huge hall, soldiers solemnly stood guard in all directions. There was a huge round table in the hall, and it was filled with all the important figures of the surrounding world. On one side was Qin Empire, on the other side were people from the grassy, half-wolf, and elf worlds, and on the other side were people from the surrounding worlds. This queen has nothing to say. I just want Great Qin to leave the elf world and compensate for the elf world's losses. This matter will end here. A peerlessly beautiful elf woman with a mature figure and giving off a noble aura said. This king has nothing to say. I think the same as the elf world's people. As long as Qin Empire leaves the half-wolf world and compensates for the elf world's losses, the half-wolf world will not pursue Qin Empire anymore. A valiant-looking half-wolf big man said. Following this, the feminine-looking grassy person said, My people's opinion is the same as theirs. Ha ha ha. Hearing this, Zhao Fu loudly laughed with a trace of mockery. He looked at the 3 of them and said, We don't think you understand the situation. Back then, it was the 3 of you who wanted to invade Qin Empire. Now, Qin Empire's retaliation is a righteous act, and you deserve it. Now, you want Qin Empire to retreat and compensate? You're delusional. Now, it should be you who will compensate Qin Empire's losses. Not only will the continents that Qin conquered belong to Qin Empire, but you'll also have to cede 3 continents to Qin Empire. Moreover, small kingdoms like yours will have to pay tribute to Qin Empire every year by offering your treasures and women. Hearing this, the 3 grassy people looked at Zhao Fu angrily and felt somewhat regretful. Why had they rashly invaded that world before figuring out what was going on in that world? They would have run into monsters like the Qin Empire. Now that Zhao Fu wanted them to compensate for the losses and cede continents to Qin Empire, the most intolerable thing was that they had to pay tribute to Qin Empire and offer treasures and women. Wasn't this submitting to Qin Empire? This was a complete humiliation. The half-beast man slammed his palm on the table, causing a massive sound to ring out and causing cracks to appear on the round table. The half-beast man said angrily, Qin Empire, you've gone too far. You've occupied our continents and suffered the most losses, yet you want us to pay tribute to Qin Empire? Dream on. A trace of anger appeared on Zhao Fu's face as he stared at the half-beast man. His terrifying eyes, which he had been hiding, were revealed, causing the half-beast man's body to tremble and a trace of fear to appear in his heart. A bone-chilling voice sounded out, causing the temperature in the hall to plummet, and everyone's hearts tightened. If you talk to us like this again, we'll kill you right now. With your strength alone, we can easily crush you to death. You've brought this upon yourselves. If it wasn't for the fact that Qin Empire is powerful, it would have been destroyed by the 3 of you long ago. It was you who invaded Qin Empire first, and Qin Empire has not used his full strength yet. If we go to war, Qin Empire will pay for the losses. Everyone in the surroundings could not help but gulp. Looking at the terrifying eyes that had suddenly appeared in Zhao Fu's eyes, they instinctively felt extreme danger. Being stared at by that gaze, the half-beast man's body felt weak, and he could not speak at all. He could only sit back down. Chapter 1139. Zhao Fu's voice once again sounded out, What do you think of our suggestion? The people in the surroundings felt quite nervous, and did not know what to say. They looked at each other, and in the end, the elf woman spoke. Her aura was not as powerful as before, and she said somewhat weakly, "Your request is too much, we cannot agree." The others also said, "That's right. Prince Qin, your request is indeed a bit too much. How about we discuss it properly? It's best if both sides are satisfied, and we can end this battle for the sake of our commoners." Zhao Fu coldly harumphed and did not say anything else. He inwardly let out a sigh of relief. He had no choice but to act forcefully. Right now, Zhao Fu's aura was suppressing everyone present, and everyone else's auras were weaker. This was because the aura that Zhao Fu gave off was simply too powerful, and it completely suppressed them. It gave off an incredibly dangerous feeling, causing them to feel quite submissive. A while later, the elf woman said, "The continents that Qin conquered will be ceded to Qin from our 3 worlds. We hope that this matter will come to an end, and that we will suffer. What do you think, Prince Qin?" Zhao Fu shook his head and said, "Our Qin Empire has suffered great losses during this battle, so you should give us some compensation. Even though you cannot give us territory, you should be able to give us other things." Following this, Zhao Fu said a lot of things. Seeing that there was not much, the 3 worlds could only helplessly agree. In the end, Zhao Fu nodded, and the countless people in the surroundings let out sighs of relief. This massive battle that had shaken 10 or so worlds had concluded. The 3 continents that Qin had conquered now belonged to the Qin Empire, and the 3 worlds gave Qin compensation as punishment for invading the Qin Empire. The Qin Empire had been revealed to everyone in such a domineering manner, and it was difficult for the surrounding worlds not to know about it. This caused the surrounding worlds to view the Qin Empire as a powerful kingdom from the very beginning. The things that people in the various worlds talked about the most were matters related to Qin. By now, Qin's name had spread throughout the entire world. It was not just the surrounding kingdoms that were actively trying to find out about the Qin Empire. Many factions in the inner regions of the ancient stem domain were also trying to find out why the Qin Empire was so powerful. At the same time, they were also interested in the history, culture, and customs of the Qin Empire. Of course, they were only interested in the history, culture, and customs of powerful countries. If they knew these, they could show off wherever they went, which would also surprise countless people. However, if it was the history, culture, and customs of some weak countries, no one would be interested in knowing. Even if it was said, it would be a type of humiliation and be looked down upon by everyone. When Qin State was causing a sensation outside, Zhao Fu had already returned to Qin State with his troop. He also left some soldiers to guard the 3 continents. Although the 3 continents were from different worlds, they were connected and could be defended together. This also meant that Qin State's territory had been expanded. This could be said to have dealt a heavy blow to the 3 worlds, greatly reducing their strength. The 2 sides did not sign a peace contract, which meant that they did not sign a contract not to attack each other. Both sides could still attack each other at any time. Both sides had their own thoughts, and the 3 worlds felt quite unwilling. However, in front of Qin State's strength, they could not show it. As such, they were looking for an opportunity to take revenge. At the same time, they were recovering. They had been careless at the start and had only sent a few people to invade. In the end, they had suffered heavy losses, and they had not gathered many soldiers the second time, resulting in them being swept away by Qin State. If they had gathered all of their forces together, Qin State would not have been able to win so easily, and Qin State would not have been so arrogant. Now, the experts of the 3 worlds hated Qin State's legatee to death, and their hearts were filled with flames of fury. The reason why Zhao Fu had not signed a peace contract was because he wanted to seize an opportunity to invade the 3 worlds again and take a bite out of them. The battle between the 2 sides would not end here, it was just a short pause. In the future, there would definitely be another massive battle. After returning to Qin State, Zhao Fu went through the casualties and found that the number was not small. 2,000 or so beasts had died and hundreds of millions of soldiers had died. However, they had destroyed 7 billion soldiers from the 3 worlds, which was something to be proud of. In this battle, the ones who had benefited the most were not the 8 aquatic beast kings. They had devoured the flesh and blood of countless experts, as well as dozens of city lord hearts, before falling asleep and resting. Even though the corpses of countless experts could be used to refine high-grade blood god pills and city hearts could be used to build cities, it was quite a pity to give so much to the 8 aquatic beast kings. However, the 8 aquatic beast kings had withstood the pressure and performed outstandingly. Zhao Fu was naturally willing to reward them and did not regret it. At the same time, their strength had increased, giving them a great advantage over Qin's state. They were not the ones who had benefited the most. The ones who had benefited the most were the devils. After this battle, they had lost some people, but most of the devils had become stronger. After this battle, some of the talented demons had devoured a large amount of flesh and blood, directly rising from Stage 1 to Stage 3. Their demonic chi spread out ferociously, and they looked even more ferocious, causing people to feel fear. The devils had great potential, but Zhao Fu was slightly worried. If they went out of control, it would be quite dangerous for Qin's state. Zhao Fu thought about it and strengthened his control over the devils. Finally, there was the total harvest from this battle. They had conquered the evergreen continent in the grassy world, which had 6,000 regions and roughly 15,000 cities. They had conquered the Moon Wolf continent, which had 5,000 regions and roughly 12,000 cities. They had conquered the Cyprus continent, which had 6,000 regions and roughly 13,000 cities. They had obtained 40,000 cities in total, and they could give Qin another 40,000 beasts. Thinking about the massive power the beasts had displayed in this battle, Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile. After conquering the 3 continents, they had destroyed 8 kingdoms and killed 18 kings. Seeing that the situation was bad, most of the kingdoms had long since escaped. As such, even though Qin had killed many kings, he had not conquered many kingdoms. At the same time, Qin had obtained 18 royal seals, which could be converted into underworld royal seals, raising the limit of 180 million ghost soldiers. The more royal seals Qin obtained, the faster his ghost soldier army would develop. After conquering the 3 continents, Qin's fate had greatly increased. Next was the population, which was 9 billion. Each continent had only obtained 3 billion people, which was quite small. Zhao Fu felt quite disappointed. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.